Chapter 291. Fuck. Don't mess around, please don't. Swishaodua was so shocked that he spoke without thinking. If you go and make things clear, what's the point of playing then? This is what he Yuanhua asked me to do. You just need to go and deliver it. As long as you don't say that this is really the coin of providence, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. You don't have to make it so complicated. Ancestor, please don't reveal the truth. Don't you know what kind of person the old principal is? If she knows the truth, don't expect her to be willing to wear the coin. Swishaodua's little face turned pale. How can I not know this? I'm just saying. Qin Fengyang laughed and patted Swishaodua's shoulder. His spirit was lifted at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. There was finally hope in life again. It seems that I still need to work harder to extend my life as much as possible. What if she comes back with outstanding talent and can cultivate to a higher level? Won't I be the one holding her back? Swishaodua looked at Qin Fengyang's hopeful eyes and bright face. He couldn't help but feel his heart ache and almost burst into tears. So he quickly said goodbye. What kind of infatuation made him so overjoyed and satisfied just by grasping such a tiny and unrealistic hope? This was such a humble request. Seeing Swishaodua leave, Qin Fengyang didn't stop for even a second. He rushed out like the wind and rushed to the top floor of the teaching building. He calmed his breathing and then remembered that he still needed to find a reasonable excuse. He leaned against the wall and began to think about what he should say. How could he say it so that she would wear it willingly? As he was thinking, he heard footsteps. It was Hu Ruoyan walking out. Teacher Qin, why are you here? Hu Ruoyan turned around and saw someone there. She couldn't help but be shocked. Qin Fengyang's mind turned quickly and said, I have something to discuss with the old principal. Something to discuss? Why did that sound so strange? The old principal happens to be free now. I'll help you inform her. Ever since she saw the photo, Hu Ruoyan had confirmed who Qin Fengyang was and what his relationship with the old principal was. Now she looked at Qin Fengyang with even more pity, so much so that she didn't dare to look at him anymore. Such a pair of lovers was separated just because of an unforeseen event. They were separated for life. Even if they met again, they couldn't really reunite. Now that they could spend more time together, it would be good. After Hu Ruoyan went in to report, she walked out and said, Teacher Qin, the old principal invites you in. Then she hurriedly. It's not easy. I have to hide far away and not disturb them. Teacher Qin. He Yuanhua put down the book in her hand and forced a smile. Why are you here? Sit. Qin Fengyang walked to the table and was about to say something, but the moment he opened his mouth, he had thought. He couldn't come up with a reason. Qin Fengyang's eyes widened. The more he thought, the more his mind went blank. The more he thought, the more he couldn't remember. He scratched his head and muttered in frustration, What am I here for? This. He Yuanhua couldn't help but laugh and said, Teacher Qin, don't be nervous. Take your time. I'm free today. Qin Fengyang scratched his head anxiously, but he still couldn't think of anything. After struggling for a while, he simply pushed his right hand forward and said, This is for you. A coin? He Yuanhua frowned. What is this? This is. Qin Fengyang racked his brains. It said that there's an expert's magic power on it. Cough cough. Anyway, it's especially good for one's soul after wearing it. Oh. He Yuanhua picked up the coin and looked at it. It does seem to have the power of providence on it. Qin Fengyang perked up when he heard that. He said with a smile, It must be useful. He dug in his pocket and said, I prepared a thin rope. Shall I tie it to you? Tie it? Rope? He Yuanhua really couldn't help but roll her eyes. Did all men talk like this? It had been so many years and he still hadn't improved at all? This stupid. It was simply outrageous. Did you think it was tying a dog? Tying it? Tying what? He Yuanhua said angrily, Give it to me. Oh, tie it. Tie it. Qin Fengyang smiled embarrassedly and said, Yes. Then tie it properly. Don't let it fall. He Yuanhua felt that if it weren't for the fact that she couldn't move, and if it weren't for the fact that she had lost all her cultivation, she would probably stand up and beat him up until his nose was bruised and his face swollen. He Yuanhua took the thin rope and skillfully made a buckle. Then she slowly put the coin through the hole that Qin Fangyang had just made. Then she skillfully pulled it twice. Just like that, a pendant was formed. At the bottom, she even went down and tangled with it for a while, making a simple but beautiful tassel. Qin Fangyang watched in amazement. My 5-direction sword can go out and slash people, but if you make me do such a small thing, I reckon the coin will really melt. Yuanyue held the coin in her hand and looked at it. She smiled and said, "Thank you, Teacher Qin." Qin Fangyang said, You're not going to wear it?" Yuanyue smiled and said, "All right, I'll wear it now. After all, this is Teacher Qin's kind intentions." As she said that, under Qin Fangyang's nervous gaze, she hung the simple pendant around her skinny neck. She lowered the coin and it just happened to be close to her heart. An inexplicable feeling. Her heart finally calmed down. In this life I can finally wear the necklace he gave me. Go. I'll add such a longing for you and let you search for 20 to 30 years. When that time comes, there will be no more traces of me in this world. You should be able to let it go, right? Or find someone who looks similar to me. That will also give you some comfort in your heart. Fangyang, take care of yourself for the rest of your life. We won't meet again. Qin Fangyang's heart finally calmed down. He had passed the most difficult hurdle. The future was bright and full of hope. Teacher Qin, is there anything else? Yuanyue asked him to leave. Oh, nothing. I'll leave now. Qin Fangyang nodded and said, It's okay, it's okay. He hurriedly left and couldn't help but smile. In the room, Yuanyue gently stroked the coin and a smile appeared on her face. She was like a withered tree that was rejuvenated. Qin Fangyang, who was full of vitality, stood in front of the gravity room like a door god. Then Wan Lixio, who was the first to walk out of the gravity room, was mercilessly scolded by Qin Fangyang. Why are you so slow? It's only been a few times. What have you been doing these past few days? Did you get high on your birthday, or did you become stupid? After that, Long Yusheng, Li Chenglong, and Li Changming were also mercilessly scolded by Qin Fangyang. As for Zuoxiao Duo, who had broken through to the innate realm, not only did he have to endure Qin Fangyang's scolding, he also had to endure a beating that he hadn't experienced in a long time. Apart from being beaten up, he was also kicked 100 times like a shuttlecock. Zuoxiao Duo was rolling in the air like a shuttlecock. His face was filled with confusion. Damn. What's going on? This old man. Why is he beating me up as if he's on steroids? Did he not give the coin away? Is he taking revenge on me? Finally, all 100 shuttlecocks were kicked. Zuoxiao Duo covered his butt and looked at Qin Fangyang in confusion. Teacher Qin. Why? Didn't you send them out? You didn't take it? Keep it. Wear it. Qin Fangyang's face was full of smiles and he was in high spirits. While he was laughing, he kicked Zuoxiao Duo and said, You talk too much. Then he kicked another 100 shuttlecocks high in the air. Zuoxiao Duo was speechless to the extreme. I'm really fucking. Enough. I finally understand. You beat me up whenever you're happy. Beating me up is the best way to express your inner joy. I'm really asking for trouble. I shouldn't have let you be happy. Wan Lixio and the others lined up in a row and counted, 75. 79. 86. Teacher Qin, you can do it. Work hard. Work hard. Work hard. Looking at Boss Wu being kicked in the air, it felt so good, and even more satisfying. After another 100 shuttlecocks were kicked, Qin Fangyang laughed and said, I've accumulated enough power. I'm going to shoot. The 5 of them rushed out like a swarm of bees. I'll be the goalkeeper. Coming. Qin Fangyang struck a pose and unleashed a beautiful crescent moon blade. Zuoxiao's plump body drew an elegant trajectory in the air like an antelope's horn, untraceable. In short, it was filled with the charm of the Tao as it flew out. 500 feet away with a puff, Zuoxiao's football accurately landed in an empty trash can. The trash can lid flipped over with a soft sound and covered the mouth of the trash can. Uncle. Wan Lixio and the others applauded wildly. Beautiful. Another one. Qin Fangyang flung his sleeves and said, What nonsense are you talking about? School's over, all of you get lost. Don't forget to work hard at night. The path of cultivation is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you'll fall behind. Zuoxiao Duo climbed out of the trash can in a daze and saw the 5 figures that were about to disappear. Long Yuxing and the others didn't dare to wait for Zhou Xiaoduo's revenge. Naturally, they scattered and ran as fast as they could. Teacher Qin. Zhou Xiaoduo stood alone in front of the trash can. He howled to the sky and said in a low voice, "When my cultivation surpasses yours." Qin Fengyang's body flashed and appeared in front of him. "What did you just say?" Zhou Xiaoduo said with a serious face. "I was saying, thank you for your extra care, Teacher Qin. You've cultivated my ability to resist attacks in all aspects, and laid a solid foundation for my future in the martial arts world. When my cultivation surpasses yours, I'll definitely repay you well." Chapter 292. I knew you wouldn't say anything nice. Teacher Qin, you should rest early too. Don't tire yourself out. You've done so much for me. You've worked so hard and exhausted your mind. My heart aches. Are you going to scram, or do you want to play another round of flying high? I'll scram now. Goodbye, Teacher Qin. Good night, Teacher Qin. Teacher Qin is mighty. Zhou Xiaoduo left like a wisp of smoke. That bastard. A smile appeared on Qin Fengyang's face. I love it when people flatter me, but I can't let him know about this. Zhou Xiaoduo ran to the school gate like a wisp of smoke, but he only returned home after seeing a few people. Now that he had to pay the fine every night, Zhou Xiaoduo's heart was very uneasy. It was better to prepare more money. Otherwise he wouldn't feel at ease. The last fortune teller he saw was a young man who looked to be around 20 years old. He looked very weak. From the perspective of a profound cultivator, this person didn't have any cultivation aptitude. There was no room for debate about this. But in Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes, he saw something else on this person. It was an unimaginably dense power of providence. His entire body was covered by a layer of blood-red light. Zhou Xiaoduo was surprised by what he saw. He couldn't cultivate, but he had a blood-red light shield. What was this? While thinking, Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't help but use his providence points. He focused his power on his eyes and looked again. The moment he saw it, a ball of information that turned from blurry to clear instantly appeared in Zhou Xiaoduo's mind. After eliminating the messy information, Zhou Xiaoduo refined the information. Ji Weiran, born unable to cultivate, was the #1 researcher in single-target lethal weapons. Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't help but be shocked when he sorted out this person's information. His providence points could only be used by martial artists for 3 months, but it could be used by ordinary people. It was a wonder. However, this fellow was a rather unique existence. What do you want to see? Zhou Xiaoduo asked. The young man was a little nervous and said, Master, my name is Ji Weiran. I'm an ordinary person with no talent for cultivation, but my grades are not bad. Right now, I am faced with the choice of entering a higher school. One is the School of Biochemistry, and the other is Qingzhou University. But I can't make up my mind on which choice to make, so. Ji Weiran took out a stack of cash from his pocket and said, Master, please enlighten me. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded and casually wrote a few words saying, Fate brought us together. I'll take a look at it when I get home. Fate will never end. Thank you for your guidance, Grandmaster. Ji Weiran took the note and bowed solemnly before turning to leave. Only when he reached home did he open the note. What did Master Zhou say? Ji Weiran's parents were obviously eager to know what Zhou Xiaoduo's guidance was. Says, Martial arts research. Ji Weiran was confused. Martial arts research? Martial arts research is my third choice. Why is it martial arts research? Looking at it carefully, there was a small line of words below the judgment on the note. A man should walk on the rampage and have 1,000 feet of love in his heart. Even if he can't kill a strong enemy, he can still use a surprise weapon. Ji Weiran suddenly had an epiphany in his heart. It was as if the thing that he had been racking his brains over, the thing that had always been vague and blurry, had suddenly become clear. It was a subtle feeling as if the clouds had been parted to reveal the blue sky. He couldn't help but blurt out, not bad, not bad. What I hate most in my life is that I don't have the talent for cultivation and can't kill on the battlefield. But I can research weapons for the warriors in front of me. Weapons, as long as I can develop weapons that are sharp enough, isn't it the same as killing the enemy? That's what I want to do the most. As for the others, they can only go out to work after school. What's the use of becoming a CEO? Ji Weiran's eyes lit up. Master Zhua is indeed Master Zhua. He can see through the fog in my heart with one look. I've decided. I'm going to the School of Martial Arts. His father was shocked. Ranner, you have to think carefully. Dad, there's no need to think about it anymore. This is the unemployment that I've been pursuing all my life. Even if I can only develop one weapon in my life, or help others develop one weapon, it'll be enough to satisfy my whole life. This is the embodiment of my life's value. Zhua Xiaoduo went home all the way. Why are you back so early today? Zhua Chonglu was a little puzzled. I'm tired. Zhua Xiaoduo chuckled. He wouldn't say that he rushed back because his parents were about to go on a trip and he couldn't bear to part with them. Zhua Xiaonian also came back early while they were talking. During dinner she couldn't stop laughing and said, "What kind of drug did you give Gulun? She's going crazy. She keeps pestering me to ask when you're free." Zhua Xiaoduo snorted. "She said she would call you in the afternoon but you didn't pick up." Zhua Xiaonian was really happy about this. She was overjoyed when she thought of the gloomy look on Guluyan's face when she came looking for her. "Why should I pick up?" Zhua Xiaoduo snorted and said, "All she wants is a song. I have so many things to do that I'm so busy that I'm about to hit the back of my head with my heels, but she only cares about her song. If I continue to indulge her temper, then I'll be damned. So what if she's a big star?" Zhua Xiaonian was even more excited. "I explained a lot for you. I said you must be cultivating and have no time to contact her." "Of course I'm cultivating." Zhua Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and said, "I think this girl has taken a liking to me because of my talent? Why else would she be so enthusiastic? What should I do if she insists on pursuing me? It's so frustrating." Zhua Xiaoduo put on a distressed expression and turned his head to complain, "Dad. Mom. Look at you. Why did you give birth to me so handsome and so talented? I have so much to worry about." Wu Yuding and Zhua Xiaonian turned their heads at the same time, one on the left and the other on the right. They sprayed vegetable soup on both sides of Zhua Xiaoduo. Zhua Xiaoduo was speechless. Wu Yuding and Zhua Xiaonian were very confident in Zhua Xiaoduo, but when it came to the matter of Guluyan likes me, they didn't think about it at all. The difference between the two was too big. It was absolutely impossible. Even Zhua Xiaonian, who thought highly of Zhua Xiaoduo, was sure that Zhua Xiaoduo was deliberately making fun of her. That was all. At night, they cultivated as usual. Zhua Xiaoduo paid a fine of 500,000 yuan this time. It seemed that he had made progress compared to yesterday. He went back in the wee hours of the morning. There are 4 more days before Nian Cat's breakthrough. Time was running out. Another day passed. As usual, Zhua Xiaoduo reviewed everything in his mind. Zhua Xiaoduo reviewed this kind of thing several times a day. It wasn't a rare thing. He was very familiar with it. But now, with the unexpected addition of Fang Yinhua and Guluyan's help, Zhua Xiaoduo was very pleased. He felt that his confidence had increased by almost 20%. According to the original plan, Zhua Xiaoduo estimated that he should have a 50% chance of success. He might even have to push it down a little. After all, the UMNO alliance had been plotting against the Phoenix Vein for decades. They must have a lot of trump cards. But now, Zhua Xiaoduo felt that he had a 65% chance of success. Finally, Nian Cat's breakthrough has become the focus of the city. In that case, what should I do to further increase the number on the original basis? Zhua Xiaoduo racked his brains. The Meng family and the Ning family have been wiped out. The UMNO alliance didn't intervene. Why didn't they? Zhua Xiaoduo answered his own question in his mind. These two families were also plotting against the Phoenix Vein. For the UMNO alliance they were competitors. They were not to be ignored. After all, they were local bullies. They had their own methods. Now that they were suddenly wiped out, the UMNO alliance was happy to see it happen. Naturally, they didn't care about their lives. But Meng Qiantian's plan, why did he just propose a plan and withdraw after a few failed attempts? The Meng family's death list does not have Meng Qiantian's name on it. Even Meng Qianyu, a person with the destiny of a phoenix, could not slow down the invasion of the curse. How could Meng Qiantian be spared? The only explanation is, Meng Qiantian is not a member of the Meng family. Then, Meng Qiantian is actually a man arranged by other forces in the Meng family, or he is a member of the UMNO alliance. Zhua Xiaoduo lay on the bed with his hands under his head. He thought carefully. If Meng Chantian is a member of the UMNO alliance, his main purpose is naturally to help the UMNO alliance smoothly take down the Phoenix Vein. And the Meng family is actually a backup. This can explain everything. If the UMNO alliance succeeds, Meng Chantian will be happy to see it happen. If it doesn't, he can use the opportunity of the Vital Yin Soul transfer technique to transfer the power of the Phoenix Vein to Meng Chanyu. As long as Meng Chanyu becomes his woman, he will still be the biggest beneficiary of the Phoenix Vein. Even from a personal point of view, the latter is the biggest beneficiary. But Meng Chantian obviously treated this plan as a record. Why? If Meng Chantian is a member of the UMNO alliance, for the sake of the UMNO alliance, he would rather give up his own benefits? This can be explained. But is he that kind of person? Fang Yinhua clearly said that the UMNO alliance forces are not united. They are all calculative for their own benefits. There are very few people who are so selfless, right? Zhuo Xiaoduo frowned. He had already sorted out two possibilities in his mind. First, Meng Chantian is a member of the UMNO alliance. Second, Meng Chantian is not a member of the UMNO alliance. But the second possibility was obviously untenable. So only the first possibility was left. The same two possibilities. First, Meng Chantian is a selfless person in the UMNO alliance. Second, Meng Chantian is a selfish person. But the second possibility was untenable. If this is the case, then Meng Chantian is quite difficult to deal with. Chapter 293. Since I accidentally exposed the Wizard Alliance's plan in the second high school, the Wizard Alliance has made many moves, but he has never participated in any of them. He has never shown up. Can we infer that Meng Chantian is a person with a high position and a strong background who rarely comes out? Is it possible that he is the emissary in charge of the whole operation that Fang Yinhua mentioned? Emissary? Zhuo Xiaoduo made a judgment in his heart. The possibility of Meng Chantian being the emissary is no less than 65%. The next morning, Zhuo Chonglu and Wu Yuding woke up before dawn. Wu Yuding made breakfast and put it in the pot. Then the two of them pulled their suitcases and sneaked out of the house like thieves. Just after they left, the two doors opened at the same time. Zhuo Xiaonian popped her head out. Gone. Zhuo Xiaoduo popped his head out. Gone. He. Freedom. Roar. 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 In the taxi, Wu Yuding was a little sad. Sai Xiaonianji and Xiaoduo must be a little sad. I feel a little uncomfortable. They will be disappointed, right? Zhuo Chonglu said, you have to get used to it. Both husband and wife sighed silently, feeling melancholy. They were sure that their son and daughter would feel the same way. The most difficult thing in life was separation. Zhuo Xiaoduo ate breakfast in a good mood. Then he fought with Zhuo Xiaonian in the living room. They punched and kicked fiercely. They rolled around on the sofa. It was only when Zhuo Zhonglu's vase was broken by Zhuo Xiaoduo's kick that they finally stopped. You did it. Zhuo Xiaonian pouted. Of course, Zhuo Xiaoduo was very brave. He patted his chest and took the blame. After arriving at school early, Zhuo Xiaoduo immediately went to look for Qin Fangyang and asked him to investigate Meng Chantian's whereabouts. For this kind of major event, Qin Fangyang naturally did not dare to have the slightest neglect and immediately went to find Star Shield Han Song. Han Song then went to find Zhang Zhongbin. Zhang Zhongbin was more happy and arranged it for the first time. However, Meng Chantian had been missing for several days. The investigation continued until the afternoon. Finally, in an abandoned house, they found a rotten corpse covered in black spots. The clothes, shoes, accessories, and even the mobile phone. Everything matched Meng Chantian's personal characteristics. In addition, many corpses were dug out from this courtyard. They were the dozens of qi-gazing warriors who had come to Phoenix City. All of them had died here. Meng Chantian is dead? Zhang Zhongbin didn't believe this at all. Even without Qin Fangyang's warning, with Zhang Zhongbin's understanding of Meng Chantian, how could he die so easily? Investigate again. Let the forensic doctor take the deceased's DNA and confirm his identity. If this corpse is not Meng Chantian, then Meng Chantian must be an important person in the UMNO alliance. Hurry. At night, the test results came out. The deceased was not Meng Chantian. The entire city. No. The entire Central Plains is looking for Meng Chuntun. Jiang Zhongbin suddenly exploded. In the morning, Qin Fongyang asked Han Song to deliver this news, which made Jiang Zhongbin feel like his head was about to explode. They had just gotten rid of a Star Master, and now an emissary? And the kind that had been lurking for many years? This was simply a situation that could make one collapse. Is the UMNO alliance finished? The UMNO alliance must be doing this for the Phoenix Vein soul cleansing. The UMNO alliance's plan for the Phoenix Vein soul cleansing is so far-reaching. They must be determined to succeed. The consequences can be imagined. We can't let the UMNO alliance succeed. I request to increase the protection of the spiritual thought goddess when she breaks through. Jiang Zhongbin immediately reported to his superiors. The Phoenix Vein soul cleansing was something that was not noticed in the beginning. It was completely ignored and even completely denied. Finally, it had developed to the point where it was widely known. Now, almost all the higher-ups in Phoenix City knew about it. The Star Shield General Administration had even received an order. The Phoenix Vein soul cleansing must not fail. This was a huge reversal of the situation. That night, the sky above Phoenix City was suddenly filled with howling winds that seemed to never end. If there was a brilliant Qi observer standing in the sky, he would definitely be able to see that the power of providence in the sky around Phoenix City had formed the image of a phoenix feather. Countless phoenix feathers were slowly moving up and down with the wind, as if a phoenix was habitually flapping its wings before taking off. And it was also from that night that Phoenix City's governor, Wan Pingyuan, issued a general mobilization order for Phoenix City. All the city guards of Phoenix City were to cancel their leave and enter a state of first-level combat readiness. The Star Shield General Administration issued an order. Everyone is to cancel their leave and be on alert 24 hours a day. The major departments also issued emergency orders one after another. The governor's office issued an order. For the next week, Phoenix City residents are not allowed to leave the house unless there is an important matter. Every household was urged to prepare for their daily necessities and minimize the number of times they leave the house. The wind was howling. The wind was getting stronger and stronger. That day it was clearly midsummer, but a chilly northern wind was blowing. It reached a force 7 wind and blew for an entire day and night. And from the early morning of the second day, the northern wind did not decrease but increased instead. It increased to force 8 in one go. The temperature dropped sharply from yesterday's short sleeves to the point where it was still hot. It dropped to the point where it was cold even in autumn clothes. Phoenix City's Internet Surveillance Bureau worked overtime 24 hours a day. No one was allowed to take a break. If they were tired, they could only take turns to rest in the office. On the internet, as long as there was a post about the Phoenix Vein soul cleansing, it would be deleted immediately without any reason. Zhuoxiaonian spiritual sense Phoenix Vein soul cleansing Phoenix. This series of words had all become taboo words. The headquarters of all the major websites had also received orders to ban and block them. Once any topic was circulated, the website that appeared would be held responsible. From top to bottom, come in and drink tea and chat. Countless well-known hackers in the country were all staring at their computers and waiting. In the afternoon, Hu Ruoyan entered He Yuanyue's office. Old principal. What's up? 2 things. First, the entire Phoenix City has been mobilized. All the experts are on standby, quietly waiting for the Phoenix Vein soul cleansing to protect it. He Yuanyue smiled with relief. Good, this is really good. This was what she had been thinking about for decades. Now, seeing the situation turn around, she was really overjoyed. There was a happy smile on her face. Second, the Central Plains Martial Artist Examination is scheduled to be held a month later, on the 18th of August. South G City has drawn lots for the right to hold it. Each school will report their results. Each martial arts school will select 6 seeds to participate in the seed finals. The finals of the Central Plains Martial Arts School Longhu list. Yes, let Wuxia Duo and the other 5 go. He Yuanyue decided on the candidates almost without any hesitation. She said with some melancholy, I won't be able to see that day. I really hope to see second high win first place. Hu Ruoyan almost burst into tears. She choked and said, You will definitely see it. Second high will definitely become the champion of the Central Plains this time. He Yuanyue smiled and shook her head. When the time comes, let the little guys burn incense for me. Old principle. This is also one of my lifelong wishes. Remember, when someone from Second High is really famous in the world, don't forget to let me know. I will be very happy, very happy. One day, 23 hours and 47 minutes to Nian Mao's breakthrough. Zhuo Xiaoduo muttered in his heart. He looked at Zhuo Xiaonian, who was still practicing with him in the strong wind. Her beautiful hair danced violently in the strong wind, as if she was going to fly into the sky. Zhuo Chonglu and Wu Yuding had already left for a vacation. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaonian knew in their hearts. Their parents had left Phoenix City at this moment, but they definitely wouldn't go far. As the momentum of the Phoenix Vein soul striking became greater and greater, and as Zhuo Xiaonian's identity was further exposed, Zhuo Chonglu and Wu Yuding's existence became full of danger, because they really didn't have any ability to protect themselves now. Just as they said, if they stayed in Phoenix City, they would only be a burden to their son and daughter. However, they definitely wouldn't be at ease. At this moment they must be hiding somewhere, silently watching this place. Zhuo Xiaoduo's phone suddenly vibrated. Fang Yinhua had sent a question mark. Zhuo Xiaoduo could finally smile in peace. Then he replied, "Good morning." A message was also sent over. It was a complete plan of action. Regarding the situation, all the people sent by the UMNO alliance, who would be responsible for which direction, how many people would be in each direction, who would be fainting, who would cooperate, who would be the main attacker, who would be the killer. They were all extremely detailed. Fang Yinhua had always been cautious. This plan was so detailed that even the emissary who came up with this plan wouldn't be able to come up with such a detailed plan. Everything was presented to Zhuo Xiaoduo without leaving out a single detail. At the bottom of the message there was a note. Tentative plan. It may need to be confirmed again. After confirming, if there were no changes, they wouldn't send any more messages. If there were any changes, they would contact again. However, this last note made Zhuo Xiaoduo ponder. The message said, "The current strength displayed by the UMNO alliance is not enough to control the situation. I suspect that the emissaries have other arrangements. This is the habit of the emissaries. They would never completely reveal their final trump card in front of others, and they would never arrange a situation where there is no way out, especially against themselves. Therefore, we have to leave some people behind to guard against certain unforeseen events that would not happen under normal circumstances. Or, we have to guard against situations where the first move is a killer move." This message made Zhuo Xiaoduo's face turn ugly. However, this was still within Zhuo Xiaoduo's expectations. If I were the emissary, I wouldn't have made all my arrangements so clear and exposed them in front of others. I would definitely have left behind a trump card and a way out. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be able to guarantee my own safety. How could I be at ease? But what exactly was the emissary's trump card? Chapter 294. Now everything was unknown. They could only wait for more information from Fang Yinhua. What news? Zhuo Xiaonian poked his head over. "It's the minutes of the UMNO alliance's meeting. They're discussing how to kill you." Zhuo Xiaoduo made a funny face and handed the phone over. "Listen to your nonsense." Zhuo Xiaonian took the phone and looked at it. Her eyes widened. Is it real? Isn't this plan too detailed? It doesn't look fake. It's definitely not fake. It's the real UMNO alliance's plan to kill you, Zhuo Xiaoduo said with a smile. His face was full of confidence, as if everything was under his control. How did you get this information? How did you do it?" Zhuo Xiaonian's shock had reached an indescribable level. Her brother had actually gotten hold of the minutes of the UMNO alliance's meeting. This was too awesome. Zhuo Xiaonian was really stunned. It was as if water had entered her brain and she couldn't think straight anymore. Because this was absolutely impossible in the eyes of a normal person. These are just some small tricks that slightly increase our chances of winning, Lin Yun thought. Zhuo Xiaoduo smiled faintly and said in an extremely pretentious tone, "Why are you so surprised? This is just a basic operation." He shrugged and smiled. "It's just. Zhuo Xiaonian rolled her eyes subconsciously, but she couldn't help but ask again, "Is this really true?" "Of course it's true. It's absolutely true. I've arranged a spy in the UMNO alliance. The last bit of uneasiness in Zhou Xiaoyan's heart disappeared without a trace. If Zhou Xiaoduo could even handle this, then what danger could there be in her breakthrough? It was simply too unexpected. Damn, you're too awesome. Zhou Xiaoyan praised from the bottom of her heart. Actually, according to my original plan, once we've determined their location, we'll gather our high-end combat power and launch a surprise attack. We'll eliminate all of the UMNO Alliance's spies during the meeting. This is the best way to ensure your breakthrough. Zhou Xiaoduo sighed and said, but father said, Phoenix Pulse Soul, Phoenix Nirvana, must be a crisis that the person with the fate of the Phoenix must face. They must rely on themselves to break out of the encirclement to be considered a success. If everything goes smoothly, then at some point in the future, the sudden backlash of fate will become stronger and more dangerous. This is probably the so-called overdraft of fortune. If external forces intervene and support too much, it will only cause the opposite effect. Dragons and phoenixes are the same. They become stronger when they meet strong opponents. They're powerful legends that fight in bloody battles. If you blindly break through peacefully, the success of dragons and phoenixes will be relatively limited. As the saying goes, the heavenly Tao has its basis. The number of tribulations an individual has to endure has always been fixed. I've used various methods to reduce the number of tribulations. However, if I really eliminate all the tribulations, it will only lead to greater and more unpredictable tribulations. Even if it doesn't happen now, it will happen in the future. Zhou Xiaoduo said, therefore, there will still be dangers in the process of breaking through. But you don't have to worry about this at all. Just focus on breaking through. Okay. Zhou Xiaoyan agreed softly. She was actually a rare little girl. Then, this plan, you don't have to worry about it. Just pretend that you didn't see it. When school starts tomorrow morning, I'll go directly to Teacher Qin. There's still time. Our biggest advantage now is that we can determine the approximate time of the other party's movements. Only when you start breaking through will the other party move. Zhou Xiaoduo said lightly, so now we don't need to act rashly. No matter if we cultivate, sleep or eat, I believe there are already many eyes watching us in the dark. Once we make a move, I'm afraid that the other party's plan will change according to us. Now that we know the other party's possible movements, then, we should try our best to stabilize them. Let them follow the plan that we've discussed now. This is our biggest advantage. Based on this reason, our rhythm of life can't be messed up at all. Just go on as usual. Okay, I understand. But this matter you must never ever tell your master. Zhou Xiaoduo warned solemnly. Master Mu is still covered by the white tiger aura. She's a weak point in our battle formation. I still can't determine the source of her calamity. I can only let it be for the time being. Fortunately, her aura doesn't seem to be fatal now. I've already reminded Master many times. Zhou Xiaoyan said in distress. There's no point in reminding Yunyun now. Zhou Xiaoduo said in a deep voice, everything will be settled by tomorrow night. The wind outside was getting stronger and stronger. Especially after midnight, the wind force increased by another level, reaching level 9. And this level of wind force was already the highest limit that many houses could withstand. Countless houses built in the suburbs, some of which were not sturdy enough, were already showing signs of swaying. Many things that were placed outside were all swept up by the strong wind. They flew in circles above Phoenix City and then fell to God knows where. At this moment, the temperature had officially dropped to below zero. It was the right temperature to wear a cotton-padded coat. The north wind was even crazier than before, as if it wanted to completely blow away the little bit of heat in the world. Zhou Xiaoduo went to the roof of his house. After taking a look for a moment, he immediately came down. The phoenix's feet were completely unsheathed. It was roaming freely, its wings leisurely flapping. It was as if it was strolling and looking at the place that gave birth to it. As for the crazy north wind between heaven and earth, the phoenix didn't seem to feel it at all. On the same night, Fang Yinhua was in a terrible fix. The reason was none other than Emo Shuani's disappearance. It had been several days since she could get in touch with him. At this critical moment, she didn't have the time nor the means to search for him. She could only remove Emo Shuani's position from the plan and replace it with Pan Yuxing. Fang Yinhua kept sighing. But in her heart she was muttering, this girl. Couldn't have been killed by someone, right? Or perhaps she was guided by Master Zhua to find her parents. If this girl's disappearance was caused by Master Zhua, or it was part of his plan, then wouldn't that mean that Master Zhua was even more terrifying? Maybe this girl's disappearance was also a good thing. At least she would have another scapegoat after the matter. Or one more witness was also a good thing. Beside her, Yun Juing asked excitedly, "Martial uncle, when are we taking action?" He looked as if he was going to contribute to the Wizard Alliance and make contributions. Fang Yinhua said kindly, "Juing, it's delicious and delicious. This time it's very dangerous. You have to be mentally prepared to die. It's really not optimistic." Yun Juing said heroically, "Martial uncle, I'm willing to sacrifice everything for the Wu people. Even if I die, I won't regret it." Fang Yinhua nodded deeply. "Yes, don't regret it. Life and death are normal in a battle. If there's an accident, don't blame the heavens and others. Don't hold a grudge." Martial uncle Juing has no regrets. That's good, that's good. The next morning, Zhua Xiaoduo went to school as usual. As usual, he went to see fortune tellers and earned money. Everything was the same as usual. It was a pity that in such a cold and windy atmosphere, there weren't many people who came to see fortune tellers, let alone queuing up. Therefore, Master Zhua's harvest today was unusually meager. It was unprecedented. Then Zhua Xiaoduo found Qin Fangyang and gave him the plan. He especially pointed out, "Only you and Jiang Zhangbin know about this plan. Don't let anyone else know about it. Jiang Zhangbin will be in charge of the overall planning. The others only need to follow orders. Don't let anyone else know about this except for the two of you." Qin Fangyang was a little confused. Even the people involved in the operation can't know? No, Zhua Xiaoduo said firmly. There was no room for doubt. Okay, I understand. Also, this plan is only the UMNO Alliance's plan on the surface. There must be other arrangements in the dark. So save your strength. Understood. I don't need you to remind me. We've been fighting the UMNO Alliance for so long. Their little tricks are not worth mentioning. Keep it a secret. Nonsense. Qin Fangyang knew that there must be another reason. Zhua Xiaoduo reminded him again and again to keep it a secret. He didn't say anything else and went to find Jiang Zhangbin. Seeing Qin Fangyang leave, Zhua Xiaoduo went to the top floor of the teaching building to see He Yuanyue. The moment he saw He Yuanyue with his own eyes, Zhua Xiaoduo's heart skipped a beat. Today He Yuanyue's face was rosy and full of energy. Even her eyes had a glow that was not usually there. Even her back was straighter. She didn't look like an old woman who could die at any time. Her overflowing vitality was like that of an ordinary man in his prime. However, Zhua Xiaoduo's heart was suddenly filled with extreme sadness. This was not just the normal last radiance of the setting sun, but that He Yuanyue must have taken a large amount of secret medicine. Her remaining life, soul, primordial spirit, and foundation were all stimulated. She had been waiting for this day for too long. She just wanted to spend this last day with a radiant face. I only need one more day for the rest of my life. Grandma He. Zhua Xiaoduo went up to her. Xiaoduo. He Yuanyue smiled and asked kindly, "How's your sister?" "Everything has been prepared. Grandma He, don't worry. Everything is perfect. However, my sister can't come. She has to wait at home. She has to wait for the last day to pass. Any action she takes now may cause the UMNO Alliance to change their plans. So, she asked me to apologize to you and come to see you as soon as she broke through." Good. 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 That's the way it should be. You've considered everything. He Yuanyue praised 3 times and said, "It's okay if Nianer doesn't come. Xiaoduo, you can come on her behalf." She sighed and said softly, "Duoduo, kneel down and kowtow to Grandma He." Chapter 295. Hu Ruoyun, who was behind her, burst into tears. Kowtowing a few times could be said to be the most obvious and undisguised farewell. Zhua Xiaoduo took a few steps back and knelt on the ground. He respectfully kowtowed 9 times. "Grandma He, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done." Kowtow 9 more times. These 9 are spiritual. Zhua Xiaoduo kowtowed 9 more times. He Yuanyue smiled kindly and said, "Good child, get up. I have a few words that you have to remember." "Please speak, Grandma He." Xiao Duo will never forget. He Yuanyue said leisurely, you have to remember that in this life, don't let each other down. Don't promise love lightly, don't throw away righteousness lightly. Don't bleed lightly, don't cry lightly. Yes. You have to know that dragons and phoenixes can bring prosperity. Yes. And He Yuanyue pondered for a long time and said, your future. Swixiao Duo widened his eyes and pricked up his ears. Remember, the Dragon Bloodline Academy is where you go. Don't step foot in Shangjing directly. You have to accumulate in the Central Plains and then go to Shangjing. After perfecting the Khanate stage, where did you plan to further your studies? Swixiao Duo thought for a moment and said, previously, my sister once said that Fenghai's Hidden Dragon High School is good. Moreover, there are many talents there and there are many resources there. There are also training grounds. I want to go there. Fenghai's Hidden Dragon High School. He Yuanyue said slowly, very good. It's the same as what I thought before. Fenghai is said to be the ancient capital of the 8 dynasties. Then there must be a dragon bloodline. But you have to remember, wherever the dragon bloodline is, it will be the focus of the struggle. He Yuanyue's voice was very heavy. Wherever the dragon bloodline and phoenix bloodline are, there will definitely be no alliance lurking. There will also be people with the fate of the dragon gathered. It has always been a place where tigers are crouching and dragons are coiling. There are many opportunities in such places, but there are also many risks accompanying them. When dragons gather, there will definitely be karmic luck devouring each other. You have to be extra careful in everything you do. You must never be completely honest with others. Swixiao Duo nodded vigorously. I'll remember that. The battle between the Alliance and the Astral Souls is ultimately a battle of luck. And around the Sun-Moon Pass was the largest meridian in the entire continent. That's why wars are the most frequent there. However, it's impossible to guard against other places. The infiltration of the Alliance is inevitable. He Yuanyue said softly, when competing for Providence, the Qi Meridians, the Dragon Meridians, and the Phoenix Meridians are all places that must be fought for. As long as there was competition, he would immediately kill. My words are very heartless, but you look vicious on the surface, but your heart is pure and kind. I have to mention it. If you don't kill the snake, you will be bitten. Remember. I'll remember it. After the Hidden Dragon Descendant, you must go to the Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts Academy, which is the land of clouds in your hearts, to further your studies. He Yuanyue reminded Xiao Duo, this is extremely important to your life providence. I'll remember it. And you can get first place in any high school. Don't forget Phoenix City's second high school. Don't forget to tell me. He Yuanyue said softly, this is Grandma He's obsession, and also her greatest dream. I won't let Grandma He down. Well, if you remember, then go. He Yuanyue said slowly, today is destined to be a good day. Seeing Swixiao Duo leave, He Yuanyue closed her eyes with a gentle and peaceful expression. This is my second high school's child. I really want to see those children. Royun. A lot of new letters have come in these few days. Help me open them and read them to me. These children. He Yuanyue smiled and said, these are all the children in my heart. Yes. Hu Ruoyan took out 3 thick stacks of letters, opened the top one, and began to read the contents of the letter. This was a letter written to He Yuanyue by the second high school students who had already traveled all over the world. They reported their achievements, joy, and some confusion during this period of time. Whenever she read these letters, He Yuanyue's expression was always happy and satisfied. Swixiao's mood was exceptionally heavy. The first thing he did when he came down from upstairs was to call Guluan. How is it? Ready at any time. After 8 o'clock tonight, the 2 god shadows under Miss Luoyan must be in place, no delay. No problem. Please. Swixiao Duo took a deep breath. There are still 10 hours. In these last 10 hours, what else can I do? Swixiao Duo frowned, thinking hard. He reflected over and over again on his arrangements, whether it was perfect, whether it was flawless, whether there were still loopholes. Mu Yinyan, Han Song, Qin Fengyang, and the others gathered together and urgently discussed. All the students of Phoenix City's Star Martial Arts Academy were dispersed. The breakthrough location was confirmed. Star Martial Spirit Crystal. Today, the battle between the astral souls and the Umno Alliance was inevitable. For their side, they needed to choose a location that was easy to defend and difficult to attack. Qin Fengyang immediately sent the message back to Zhuo Duo. The breakthrough location is confirmed. Star Martial Spirit Crystal. Got it. Zhuo Duo paced back and forth in the gravity room. Star Martial Spirit Crystal. Star Martial Spirit Crystal. The moment the breakthrough location was confirmed, Zhuo Duo felt his mind was in a mess. His thoughts were in an unprecedented mess, and it was difficult to control. At this moment, the sound of the wind in the sky increased again, and it had reached the 10th level. Moreover, the wind seemed to be continuing to increase in strength, and it continued to increase in strength. At this moment, the wind was like a ghost's howl, raging in the endless sky. Countless trees in the nearby forest were cut in half by this unparalleled wind. In the sky, heaven and earth lost their color. The sun and the moon lost their light, and everything was chaotic. In the starry sky, a meteor shower was far more frequent than usual, and it poured down like a torrential rain toward Phoenix City that if one were to stand high up in the sky and use the aura observation technique to observe, one would see a huge snow-white phoenix on this vast land. Her graceful figure walked to the east, then to the west. She was calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos, pure and innocent, as if she was curious about everything. It wandered freely and it was free. At this moment the temperature was getting lower and lower, and it had dropped to -8 or 9 degrees Celsius. The wind was bone-chilling and it made people shudder. Fang Yinhua still didn't send any news. Zhuo Duo waited until 7 o'clock in the evening, but there was still no news from Fang Yinhua. This meant that everything was going according to the plan that was sent out before. 8 o'clock in the evening. The Zhuo family, Zhuo Duo and Zhuo Xiaoyan sat opposite each other. I should go now, Zhuo Xiaoyan said. Wait for a while, Zhuo Duo said. Then he took out his phone and apparently he wanted to ask Gu Luyan for one last confirmation. Don't rush her. Someone beside him said. We're here. A voice suddenly sounded in the living room of the Zhuo family. Then two figures slowly appeared out of thin air. They were two women. They both looked at Zhuo Duo with cold eyes. The two immortal shadows beside Gu Luyan suddenly appeared. Zhuo Duo stood up and bowed deeply. I'm counting on you for today's game. The two immortal shadows nodded slowly, and then their bodies disappeared from sight again. Go. You can go now. Zhuo Xiaoyan looked at Zhuo Duo with tenderness in her eyes. Suddenly, she leaned forward and kissed Zhuo Duo gently on the cheek, ignoring the two immortal shadows beside her. Xiaoduo, wait for me. I'll be back soon. Okay. Zhuo Duo felt a gentle chill on his cheek, and an unprecedented tenderness surged in his heart. He couldn't help but giggle and said, You kissed the wrong place. It should be here. Then he pouted his lips. Damn you! Zhuo Xiaoyan shouted angrily, and then she chuckled and said, Let's go. Her graceful body floated in the air, and she quietly turned and flew out of the window. In the wild wind her clothes fluttered. She looked at Zhuo Duo with her beautiful eyes and said word by word with great certainty, I'll be back. Wait for me. She turned her body and soared into the sky. Like a fairy from the 9th heaven, she slowly flew into the distance. At the moment when she got up, Qin Fengyang, Sister Lan, Han Song, and more than a dozen other masters all jumped up and rushed into the night with the howling wind. From afar, they separated into two groups and escorted Zhuo Xiaoyan to the Star Martial Soul Crystal. At the same time, a piece of crystal appeared in the sky. In the fierce wind, large snowflakes floated down in a way that was beyond everyone's expectations. As the dense snowflakes fell, the howling wind gradually subsided, and in less than half an hour it completely stopped. The goose feather-like snow fell from the sky like a complete snowball. In less than 10 minutes, the ground was covered with a layer of white. July 15th. The cold wind was bone-chilling. In the hot summer, snow filled the sky. There was almost no one on the opposite side. Such an ancient spectacle had appeared in Phoenix City out of the blue today. This shocking change shocked the millions of residents to the point that they were speechless. We'll wait for you to come back. Zhuo Duo looked at the snow outside the window, and his face became unprecedentedly solemn. His eyes were also unprecedentedly serious. You must come back. Zhuo Duo boasted that he had done all he could. Enough, enough. The rest could only depend on the will of God. However, at this moment his phone suddenly rang. A message came. It was from He Yuanyue. Come quickly, Phoenix turns around. Swishaoduo did not dare to delay when he saw the message. He quickly turned around and rushed out of his window like Swishaonian. In the goose feather-like snow, his black hair and black clothes turned into a black line in the snow, and he sped away. With a burst of energy, the open window closed with a bang. Just a moment later, the room was as warm as spring again. And at the moment when Swishaoduo left the house, south of Phoenix City, Phoenix Tail Mountain, which had been set on fire before, for some unknown reason, was once again on fire. In the atmosphere of the snow, the fire rushed to the sky. Ice and fire mixed together, infinitely magnificent and dazzling. Immediately after, the mountains on the east and west of Phoenix City also had sparks shining. In the blink of an eye, monstrous flames burned the sky. Seeking monthly votes. Subscription. Recommendation votes. 5 o'clock. Chapter 296. The three sides of the fire burned the night sky red. However, under the influence of the heavy snow, there were not many people who could see it. The three fires continued to burn fiercely, as if they were competing with the heavy snow. Swishaoduo only felt that the thick snowflakes were like slaps on his face. However, he did not stop. His only goal was to turn back the phoenix. There was one thing that he had never mentioned. Tonight was Zhuoxiaonian's calamity. If she did not live, she would die. However, tonight was also Zhuoxiaoduo's calamity. Previously, the people of the Umno Alliance were full of misgivings and did not dare to attack him. However, now that the Phoenix Pulse spirit had been determined, it was useless to keep Swishaoduo alive. If they could kill Swishaoduo before the time limit, they could use it to mess up Zhuoxiaonian's determination. All the hidden combat power of the Umno Alliance in Phoenix City, those who were qualified, had gone to surround and kill Zhuoxiaonian. As for the remaining people, there were about 100 people in the embryonic breathing realm and even the innate realm. The goal of these people was to kill Swishaoduo as quickly as possible tonight. This was actually one of the news that Feng Yinhua had sent. However, Swishaoduo had deliberately concealed it. Tonight. It seems that I can't read their fortune. Facing the heavy snow, Swishaoduo moved forward quickly. He actually had such a thought in his mind. He deeply felt that it was a pity. The people who had come to kill him tonight were all pieces of luck points. However, there were too many of them, and there was no time for him to deceive them. What a pity. Pieces of heavy snow fell, and each piece was almost the size of a palm. It was not just blocking one's vision, but also making it impossible to open one's eyes. The entire Phoenix City, including the windows of every house, had been covered by heavy snow. Many houses did not even have any light shining through. The entire city was like a dead city at this moment. It was completely silent. Swishaoduo moved faster and faster. From the moment he left the house, he had been turning left and right. In the shortest amount of time, he had rushed through the area with the most complicated environment and the highest population. After about 5 to 6 kilometers, the city gate appeared in front of him. However, he knew that his peaceful journey was about to end. It had come to an end. Although he had scruples about the ordinary people, his enemies who wanted to target him also had scruples. Martial art practitioners fighting could not hurt ordinary people. This was the iron law of the continent. However, in such an open area, both sides had no scruples. As expected, there was a whistle in front. A voice without any scruples said, "That brat is here." Behind him there was the sound of the wind. So this kid ran out. I wonder if he's running away after hearing the news, or is he seeking death? A sharp whistle suddenly sounded. Kill! The sharp sound of the wind breaking followed. In the almost impenetrable snow, a thin sword suddenly appeared, shining with a cold light. Behind it was a white figure that almost blended in with the snow. Swishaoduo did not even turn his head. With a wave of his right hand, 3 small white jade gourds merged into the heavy snow. With a light dang sound, the first gourd accurately hit the opponent's thin sword. But sparks flew in all directions. The man's body shook, and he was still wondering how this brat could have such great strength. A mere concealed weapon was actually able to shake off his thin sword. Then he felt a sharp pain in his eyes. The other 2 white jade gourds followed. They were just as accurate. They shot into the man's eye sockets. After breaking his eyeballs, they spun all the way into his brain. Finally, they met in the middle of his brain. The moment the 2 white jade gourds collided with each other, they exploded with a bang. The man screamed and fell. He did not get up again. On the surface, only his eyes were injured. His brain looked fine. However, he did not know that his brain had become a paste. At this moment, Swishaoduo did not stop. He rushed forward for more than 50 meters. Behind him there were 6 corpses. This was the result of Swishaoduo's battle. All 6 of them were dead, and not a single one of them was injured. This brat's hidden weapon is good. Everyone pay attention to your defense. In the dense snow someone shouted, pay attention to the eyes, ears and other vulnerable areas. Everyone listened and did as they were told. No one dared to be careless. Hidden weapons in the snow were impossible to guard against, especially when this brat was such a sinister person. Swishaoduo was still rushing forward like an arrow. Another 6 figures came from the left and right. In front of him, there were 2 people coming with the momentum of a mountain and the thick snow. The eyes and ears of this group of attackers had been protected early on. These people had clearly investigated the Zwa siblings in detail. They had even prepared steel eye masks and earmuffs. Swishaoduo did not stop. He continued to rush forward empty-handed. He took advantage of the gaps and threw out hidden weapons. The weapons hit the people's protective shields. However, this round of hidden weapons did not cause any damage. They were all safe and sound. The attackers were relieved. They thought that their plan had worked. Suddenly, the opposite side circled. Snow flew up into the sky. Then there were continuous screams. Bastard! Be careful! Ouch! The screams became one. 5 people fell to the ground holding their crotches. Their faces were twisted. It had been a long time. Dragon kick. Now Swishaoduo was even more skillful. The dragon kick was really majestic. The 5 of them rolled on the ground as the others rushed over. However, all they saw was a sharp sword light rushing up. Crack, crack, crack. Cracked at the 5 weapons in the enemy's hands were all cut in half by Swishaoduo. The sword flash did not stop. It swept through the throats of the 5 people. Puff, puff, puff. Blood spurted out. It was mixed with the heat of the human body. It spilled on the snow, making the opposite side more visible. Idiot! Swishaoduo sneered. How dare you ambush us with this little knowledge? Do you really think that I'm good at using hidden weapons? My best skill is my sword. Someone on the opposite side cursed. You're the best at being shameless. Before he finished his words, Swishaoduo's figure turned into a whirlwind again and rushed out. The 2 people in front of him didn't even have the time to blink their eyes before they were cut in half at the waist along with their weapons. Swishaoduo broke through the encirclement. He opened a path with his shining sword and rushed up the wall. The moment the sword flashed again, another 2 people in white screamed and fell down. One of them covered his crotch while the other's throat was bleeding. Swishaoduo, who had succeeded, did not seem to think much. He kicked his feet and flew out of the city. However, at this moment, another enemy came from the sky and intercepted him. Swishaoduo raised his left hand. It looked like he was using his arm to block the enemy's weapon. In fact, it was the arm guard given by Wu Taijiang. With a clang, the enemy's weapon was knocked away. Then he stabbed his long sword in the face. A stream of blood bloomed like a dazzling plum blossom in the snow. It was immediately covered by new snowflakes. The person fell down in despair. He did not have long to live, but he still warned desperately, everyone be careful. This guy has some strange protection on him. The sword in his hand is a heavenly weapon. As soon as he finished speaking, he fell to the snowy ground below the city. Falling from such a height, coupled with the fact that he was already seriously injured, he only spasmed a little before he died. However, his warning was a wake-up call to everyone who participated in the encirclement. This Swishaoduo was not simple. He was not simple at all. He had many treasures on him. Regardless of whether he was attacking from afar, he was not to be underestimated. It was precisely because they understood this point that when Swishaoduo charged forward, it wasn't as easy as before. Everyone simultaneously took out the heaviest weapons they had on them. They chased after him relentlessly. There were even people who took a detour in advance to block Swishaoduo's path. They wanted to form an encirclement and annihilate all signs of life. Find a place and surround him. Exhaust him to death. This guy is unexpectedly difficult to deal with. He has already killed 17 of us. Surround him. Surround him and kill him. At this moment, these people no longer had any scruples and were talking loudly and unscrupulously. After all, they were already outside the city. All the high-level experts in Phoenix City had already gone to the Star Marshal Spirit Crystal. Naturally, there was no place for experts here. Coupled with the weather and atmosphere, it was no surprise that they would speak and act. As long as they could kill this guy, it would be a great achievement. As the battle continued, some people were shouting and instructing their people on how to surround Swishaoduo from both sides and quickly form a tight encirclement to surround him. Meanwhile, more and more low-level experts from the UMNO Alliance were rushing over from other places. More and more people gathered and the encirclement became more and more dense. However, Swishaoduo did not seem to notice any of this. No matter how they deployed their troops, he just rushed forward without a care in the world. He was rushing forward to his destination. There was not much time left. Swishaoduo had already rushed out more than 20 kilometers. Suddenly, Swishaoduo was surprised to see that there were bonfires made of pine oil burning in 7 or 8 directions in front of him. In front of him, under the illumination of the bonfires, everything was bright and visible. There were more than 20 people standing behind the bonfires. They were all smiling as they watched Swishaoduo running towards them. Master Zhua, you really don't show off. We admire you. We never thought that you would be able to make it all the way here without any injuries. We admire you. He sighed softly. When we go back, I must ask those idiots who specialize in intelligence what kind of lousy information they provided. Master Zhua has obviously reached the innate stage. Those idiots insisted that he was at the peak of the martial master stage. Master Zhua's swordsmanship is so high. But they told us that Master Zhua is an expert in hidden weapons. They deserve to die. Chapter 297. The person who was speaking crossed his arms and said with a fake smile, however, what I admire the most is that Master Zhua is so scheming at such a young age. On the surface, his hidden weapon is superior, but his swordsmanship is also superior. I admire you for tricking everyone in the palm of your hand. If it wasn't for the disparity in strength and the fact that we have more people on our side, I'm afraid that Master Zhua would have turned the tables. However, there is a limit to human strength. In front of an absolute difference in strength, there will be times when even the most profound scheming is not enough. At this moment, the trump cards that you have hidden are destined to be useless. Today, this place will be Master Zhua's burial ground. The person revealed a cold smile on his face. Master Zhua, even if you have the peerless divine weapon, you are merely an innate expert. Do you still have room to struggle against our powerful lineup of 40 embryonic breathing experts and 30 pinnacle innate experts? Swishaoduo was panting and his face was pale as he said, Who exactly are you people? Who we are is no longer important to a dying person like you. The person said indifferently, on the contrary, we are really curious. With such heavy snow, why did Master Zhua come out instead of staying at home? You have caused many of our brothers to make a wasted trip to your house. Master Zhua, you are very rude. Haha. Swishaoduo looked around. There are so many people. To deal with me alone, you have actually mobilized so many people. I am really flattered. I am ashamed to say that all of you have come with a purpose. I should be at home brewing tea and entertaining guests, but I have brought all of you here. It is really rude of me to be in such a desolate place. If there is a next life for all of you, perhaps you can come again. Today we were in too much of a hurry. We actually forgot to destroy the souls of those who died before us. We have been too impolite. We have not treated our guests well. The person's gaze turned cold. Master Zhua is indeed sharp-tongued. However, no matter how sharp-tongued you are today, it will be difficult for you to escape alive. Swishaoduo chuckled and said, You have the advantage in numbers and strength. Why do you need to waste your breath like this? Wouldn't it be easier to just attack? So, you're waiting? Is it because not all of your men are here yet? It's hard to be absolutely certain. That person's gaze shot over like a venomous snake. Zhuo Duo chuckled. You can't do that. With such a lineup, how can you be so unconfident? Isn't that too cowardly? Even if you don't have the confidence to take me down by yourself, don't you have more than 40 helpers by your side? You still don't have the confidence? Can I suspect that the one who is at a disadvantage now is not me but you guys who have no confidence? Zhuo Duo sighed and said earnestly, brother, I have to give you a piece of advice. In this world, no matter what you do, you must be full of confidence. Without confidence, you really can't do anything. You're too cowardly. Zhuo Duo looked at the person in front of him and hurriedly corrected him. Yes, I'm wrong. Shouldn't be you, it should be you guys. That's right. All of you are too cowardly. You have no confidence in yourselves. You can't be like this. How can you make a name for yourself if you're so cowardly? How can you make a name for yourself? Zhuo Duo sighed. Too bad, too bad. Really, too bad. With you guys in the UMNO alliance, no wonder they couldn't break in after so many years. A bunch of cowards, what's the point of fighting? On the opposite side, the few people didn't speak. They watched Zhuo's performance as if they were watching a monkey show. Only their eyes were getting colder and colder. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. People kept coming. Finally, Master Zhuo, you must be tired after talking so much. Now it's my turn. The person smiled faintly and looked at Zhuo Duo with hawk-like eyes. Master Zhuo, in today's battle, you've made a total of 3 fatal mistakes. Oh, Zhuo Duo tilted his head curiously. The first mistake was that when you saw these bonfires, you should have rushed past them without stopping. With the divine weapon in your hand, we might not have been able to stop you. If that was the case, you might have had a chance to escape. Second, when I spoke to you at the beginning, if you didn't answer and forced your way out, there was still hope. Third, when you were teaching us a lesson, if you chose to retreat in another direction, there was still hope for you to escape. But now, he smiled faintly, we've surrounded you from all sides. Master Zhuo, you've always been known for your divine foresight and your ability to predict life and death. But this time you've made 3 fatal mistakes in a row. I don't know whether it's lamentable or regrettable. Zhuo Duo looked back. There were more than a dozen people behind him, armed with sabers and swords. There were also more than 20 people on the left and right ready to fight. In front of him, there were a total of 25 people with murderous eyes, ready to attack at any time. That's a lot of people. Zhuo Duo clicked his tongue in praise. This formation is really scary. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why are there so many of them? A total of 84 people. This number isn't very auspicious. As the saying goes, if there are 73 or 84 people, the King of Hell won't summon you. You guys are really... I don't know what to say. Since you don't want to say anything more, let's do it. I'm very confident that I can get rid of all of you. As for whether I can really get rid of you, let's talk about it after we're done. What if you're all dead? Why don't we make a bet? What bet? Let's bet that I can read your faces. All 84 of you are going to face a bloody disaster and your lives are in danger. If you're all dead, then naturally I can read your faces accurately. The leader laughed loudly. Read our faces? Ha ha ha, good. If we're all dead, then naturally you can read our faces accurately. But if you're dead, Master Zhuo, then I can't read your faces accurately. Zhuo's eyes lit up like light bulbs. Bloody hell, I can still reap some benefits at the end? These people are really good people. I didn't even count on them and they actually agreed to it just like that. I'm going to be rich. Zhuo's spirits were lifted. His body swayed, and a pile of weights fell to the ground with a clatter. His hands moved again, and another pile of debris fell to the ground. Then he stretched his hands forward. With 2 loud bangs, the 2 5,000-kilogram arm guards fell to the ground and smashed a deep hole in the ground. So brisk. Zhuo Duo puffed up his chest. I wasn't joking just now. I'm really confident. Putting these down, I feel like I can fly. I can fly. You guys, you're waiting for everyone to gather, and I'm also waiting for you to gather. If you don't gather, how can Master Zhuo kill to his heart's content? With a wave of his right hand, he had already collected all of the weights on the ground. Then he pointed his long sword and took 3 big steps forward. Suddenly he shouted, "Come up! Prepare to die!" With a loud roar, the dense snow in the air was actually shattered by this roar, turning into fine dust that filled the sky. Even without the leader's reminder, everyone's face became unprecedentedly solemn. Everyone could see that this Master Zhuo was definitely not the weakling in the intelligence report. They couldn't help but curse in their hearts. Damn it, the intelligence department was simply eating shit. They asked us to catch a rabbit, but in the end the rabbit's original form was actually a Tyrannosaurus Rex. A Tyrannosaurus Rex that could eat all of us. This was really fucked up. Fortunately, they had more people on their side. They didn't believe that this kid could turn the sky upside down. Looking at the hole in the ground caused by the weights, the leader's eyebrows twitched. This guy he had been running all the way here, and he had been carrying these all the time? At least more than 10,000 kilograms of weights? And he had been fighting with these? The first thought, monster. The second thought, this guy was telling the truth. He really wanted to destroy all of us. Previously, he didn't feel that we were dangerous at all. Otherwise, he would have removed these weights long ago. And the third thought, could it be that he really had the overwhelming strength to destroy all of us? Suddenly, the pressure in their hearts was infinitely greater. Everyone be careful. This kid's sword is very strange. Everyone use your heavy weapons. The leader thought for a while, but still didn't say that this kid was very strange. It would shake the morale of the army. Understood. When the UMNO alliance attacked, everyone rushed forward like a swarm of bees. 3 inside and 3 outside, surrounding them tightly. Ferocious. Strength in numbers. Watch out for my hidden weapons. In the heavy snows, Wuxiaoduo roared. Everyone was instantly on guard. But Wuxiaoduo didn't use any hidden weapons. His opponents were all wearing so thick that even their ears were covered with earmuffs. The outside of the earmuffs was actually made of iron. If he used his own weapon to block his eyes, hidden weapons would be useless. He suddenly jumped up and used the star steps at full strength. His body seemed to have turned into a series of afterimages. There were even faint dots of starlight that spread out, sparkling and translucent. The long sword in his hand also used a strange and tricky sword technique that had never been seen before. Drizzle sword. Godfather's drizzle sword was indeed awesome. It was the best swordsmanship for a group battle against the Wizard Alliance. In the snowy atmosphere, the drizzle sword was even more formless and traceless, as if it was hidden. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The surrounding people had already made up their minds. They all used their heavy weapons to block the attack. They all shouted loudly, and each of them protected themselves tightly. Unfortunately, when the sword light flashed, Zuoxiaoduo's figure seemed to have blended into the heavy snow. The few people at the front only felt pain in their throats before they lost consciousness. In the blink of an eye, 7 people's throats had already been hit by the sword. They were dead. The nimble cat sword in Zuoxiaoduo's right hand was like a flash of light, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Those who were hit by it died instantly. His originally empty left hand had drops of red light flickering. Those who were killed by his sword would be stabbed by the dragon blood flying dagger again. Chapter 298. The strength that Zuoxiaoduo exerted on the cat spirit sword could be said to be very little, or perhaps it could be said that he was unusually cautious. He didn't want to waste even a little bit of energy. Instead, he used most of his strength on the dragon blood flying dagger. The long sword took lives and injured people, while the dragon blood flying dagger continuously took away the essence of their strength. The combination of the two was flawless. Thump, thump, thump. The 3 of them covered their crotches in pain. They couldn't imagine how this brat could kick their crotches so skillfully. While they were in pain, a figure flashed in front of them. A red light flashed, and all the strength in their bodies disappeared instantly. Even their soul consciousness was extinguished. Among the people who were besieging them, the one with the highest cultivation was only at the pinnacle of the elixir primordial realm. After being hit by the fatal blow, their life was almost over. Then they were hit by the dragon blood flying dagger, and their blood chi and essence were instantly devoured. Moreover, the speed of the process was extremely fast and there was no stagnation at all. With such a good atmosphere and a rare opportunity to recharge, Zuoxiaoduo wouldn't let it go no matter what. For the previous batch of enemies, He couldn't read their fortune and didn't recharge the dragon blood flying dagger. Master Zhuo already felt that he had suffered a loss. If the dragon blood flying dagger in front of him couldn't be used for a good meal, Zhuo Xiaoduo felt that he had suffered a great loss. He had let down the opportunity that heaven had given him to become stronger. He had let down the Alliance's intention of giving him energy. Zhuo Xiaoduo's figure flashed like a ghost in the heavy snow. Just as the starlight flashed on the right, his dragon blood flying dagger had already pierced into the enemy's chest from the left. Just as the people in the north were screaming, the enemies in the south were already feeling pain in their waists. Then, all the essence and blood in their bodies were sucked dry, and they died. While everyone was guarding against the sword and the dragon blood flying dagger, there were a few people who were rolling on the ground, holding their crotches and screaming. Before Zhuo Xiaoduo's cultivation broke through to the innate realm, his strength had already reached the pinnacle of the embryonic breathing realm. Now that he had broken through, he was even more powerful. He dashed left and right, as if there was no one there. All use heavy weapons, attack indiscriminately, the leader warned loudly. He was now certain that Zhuo Xiaoduo's agility had not only increased by a level after removing the weight, but it was as if he had become a completely different person, especially that starry sky steps. It was obvious that it had already reached the legendary realm of great success. Stepping on the starry sky, shining astral souls. It was impossible to catch Zhuo Xiaoduo's movements and kill him when faced with such nimble and transcendent footwork. They could only attack indiscriminately and strike him down first to stop his formless and shadowless movements. When he saw Zhuo Xiaoduo's movements become more and more elusive, and in less than 10 minutes of time, he'd already killed 19 congenital realm experts on his side. Besides exploding with rage, he hurriedly warned and pointed out the strategy to deal with the enemy. Zhuo Xiaoduo's current attacking tactic target was very simple. For the time being, he would not touch any of the embryonic breathing realm experts. However, as long as it was an enemy of the innate realm, they would definitely be in his sights. The Alliance had sent 37 greater heaven stage experts with pinnacle of the innate realm. Within a short period of time, 25 of them had already been defeated by Zhuo Xiaoduo. His figure had always been erratic, and he was even more agile than before. Puff, puff, puff. Another 3 greater heaven stage experts died at the hands of Zhuo Xiaoduo. Their bodies instantly flew out like rotten wood. The red glow of the dragon blood flying dagger was getting thicker and thicker. In the vast expanse of white snow, it was also getting more and more conspicuous. Attack that red glow indiscriminately. The leader roared again. Zhuo Xiaoduo sighed in his heart. If one had to point out the weakness of the dragon blood flying dagger, it would be that its appearance was too obvious. Especially in such an environment, he tried his best to dodge and counterattack with his sword. Once again, he killed 2 more greater heaven stage experts. However, the sword in his hand could not avoid colliding with the enemy's heavy weapon. With this loud bang, a mace finally made contact with Zhuo Xiaoduo's sword for the first time. Immediately, sparks flew everywhere. Zhuo Xiaoduo's figure, who had endured the impact, was finally revealed. He even staggered back in midair. Now, only 7 of the 37 greater heaven stage experts were left. The 7 of them looked at each other. They could all see the fear in each other's eyes. This brat was simply an innate realm harvester. Any greater heaven stage expert who encountered Zhuo Xiaoduo would not only die, but they would also not be able to resist or parry. They would die upon contact. Up until now, there had not been an exception. The 7 of them had already lost all their courage. At this moment, when they saw Zhuo Xiaoduo's figure appear, their first reaction was not to attack. Instead, they subconsciously retreated a few steps. Zhuo Xiaoduo's body was still staggered in midair. However, his long sword was trembling and flickering continuously. It emitted rays of sword light like a drizzle, laying down streaks of sword chi in front of him. He had already put away the dragon blood flying dagger that had eaten its fill. At this moment, he only had the spirit cat sword to perform the drizzle swordsmanship with all his might. Opportunity. When the Alliance saw Zhuo Xiaoduo appear, their eyes lit up. Countless weapons swarmed forward and crazily smashed towards Zhuo Xiaoduo, who was in midair. Obviously, they wanted to finish him off in one blow. The tip of Zhuo Xiaoduo's long sword flashed and accurately tapped on an incoming broadsword. The moment the long sword bent slightly, his body had already borrowed the force and immediately bounced up like a feather. He escaped from the sharp weapons and somersaulted in midair. Once again he used the star steps. Starlight flashed again. Hit where the starlight is. Everyone attacked together. Don't give him a chance to land. The leader shouted loudly. No matter how exquisite Swishaoduo's response was, no matter how miraculous the starry sky steps was, his traces had been exposed in the end. If they were to seize the opportunity to pursue an attack, and with the convenience of a group attack, there was no reason for them to fail. The 50 people from the UMNO alliance moved together. A tight encirclement was finally completed. They were all experts in the embryonic breathing realm. They wanted to kill him in one blow. Even if they hurt their own people, they would not hesitate. This brat was really too dangerous. If it was a one-on-one, or even a siege with only a few people, it was hard to say who would emerge victorious. At this moment Swishaoduo let out a long howl. The nimble cat sword drew an elegant arc and suddenly retracted. A dense sword light carried Swishaoduo's body all the way up. The heavy snow was still too dense. Swishaoduo smoothly rushed into the thick snow, but they could not see him anymore. Judging by the momentum of this charge, it should be at least 30 meters high. The leader was very experienced and shouted, "But he can't turn. He doesn't have that ability. The time he can stay in the air is even more limited. He just rushed up to take a breath. Sooner or later he will come back down. Everyone get ready. The heavy snow in the sky is obscuring our vision. Don't chase after him in case we get ambushed." The leader commanded calmly and had the demeanor of a general. The people from the UMNO alliance who were involved in the siege were all reassured. The mentality of victory was in their hands spontaneously grew. Although they had lost a lot of people, they had already forced this brat into the air. It was the same as falling into a dead end. There was no suspense in this battle. It was a foregone conclusion that they would win. Everyone was ready, waiting for the moment when Swishaoduo came back down from the sky. With a long howl, Swishaoduo rushed all the way up. In an instant, he had reached a position of 50 meters in the air. At the moment when he reached the highest point, Swishaoduo turned his hand and put away the nimble cat sword. Then a cold smile appeared on his face. He opened his hands and 2 sledgehammers appeared in his hands. How could Swishaoduo not have thought of the current situation? No, it should be said that this situation was deliberately created by him. He wanted to use the opponent's cognitive blind spot to create a reversal of the world. Just now the nimble cat sword was the same. Now the nimble cat sword was the same as the 2 sledgehammers. This is the surprise that I have for you. The moment the 2 sledgehammers were in his hands, Swishaoduo's body began to spin rapidly. Then he drove the 2 sledgehammers and spun rapidly in the air like a hurricane. Then he turned his body upside down. At this moment, the sledgehammer's rotational inertia was stimulated. The inertia of the sledgehammers drove Swishaoduo's body and made a whooshing sound in the wind. The people of the UMNO alliance were waiting for this opportunity. And Swishaoduo was also waiting for this opportunity. Everyone from the enemy's side was here. It was really good. Unfortunately, once the 2 sledgehammers were used, the dragon blood flying dagger could not absorb anything. He was now using the sledgehammers that he usually used for training. The 99 nimble cat hammers were still a little too heavy for him. However, this pair of sledgehammers was enough. Sledgehammers. Swishaoduo had already memorized his godfather's sledgehammers in his first secret manual. After a loud shout in the air, everyone saw a black whirlwind suddenly appear. It directly swept away all the snowflakes in the sky and made them disappear without a trace. Above everyone's head, it seemed like a universe black hole had appeared. An unprecedentedly violent whirlwind suddenly descended. The 2 sledgehammers had already completed the first move of the sledgehammers in the air. When the second move started, the strong wind expanded to a radius of 10 feet. The weapons created a strange sound that was similar to the cries of ghosts and howls of gods. Woo, the sound continued to be heard, and it became louder and louder. Swishaoduo and his sledgehammers fell like a whirlwind and rushed into the crowd. The sledgehammers of 4,000 kilograms, with the support of the highest inertia, could exert a great force that was simply unheard of. Puff puff puff. The 15 people who bore the brunt of the sledgehammer wind were almost unable to resist. Blood flowed out of their 7 orifices, and their chests collapsed. They were sent flying out while flailing their arms and legs. They were sent flying out together with their weapons. As they flew out, they disintegrated and turned into blood-red fireworks, which were dazzling in the white snowflakes. Such heavy weapons, coupled with the complete first move of the sledgehammers, would break with a touch and collapse with a scratch. As for flesh and blood, the effect was even more shocking. There was no resistance, no defense, and everything was ignored. Chapter 299. The two hammers had completely covered Zhuoxiaoduo's body as they spun at high speed. What he needed to do was to follow his usual training and perform his usual hammering skills. That was all. Once the hammering skills were performed, there would be a natural inertia. Moreover, this inertia would only get stronger and stronger because the hammers were too heavy. What Zhuoxiaoduo needed to do was to maximize the control of this huge inertia. With the momentum of an indestructible whirlwind, he attacked powerfully and wiped out the enemies. Among the hammering skills left behind by Blindhong, Zhuoxiaoduo had yet to finish 2 moves of the first hammering skill, hammer. However, the whirlwind created by the 2 hammers had already enveloped a radius of 15 zhang. No matter what weapon it was, as long as it collided with the hammers, even if it didn't shatter, it would be blown away. There wouldn't be a better result. The third move was smashed out like a ghost crying and a god howling. The originally airtight encirclement had been reduced by half in the blink of an eye following the descent of Zhuoxiaoduo's sledgehammer. A total of 30 people were turned into flying men by Zhuoxiaoduo's hands. Then they all disintegrated in the air and turned into flying fireworks, decorating the snowy night sky. Mace, glaive, two-handed sword, all the so-called heavy weapons of the Umno alliance were unable to withstand a single blow from the hammers. Each and every one of them was as fragile as grass, so fragile that it was unbelievable. The whirlwind rose from the ground and continued to sweep in all directions. Puff, 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 puff. More than 10 people were directly swept into the whirlwind and turned into blood and powder. The 7 and 8 experts who didn't participate in the siege were all swept in by Zhuoxiaoduo's hammering wind and were smashed into a bloody mess. It was as easy as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. When the 7th move of the hammering skill was performed, there were only 3 people left who could still fight. These 3 people's faces were filled with fear and despair. More than 100 of them had joined hands to hunt down this brat, but now, there were only 3 people left. Moreover, the 3 people who were lucky enough to survive were not because they were strong but because of the direction. Zhuoxiaoduo had not reached here yet. As long as Zhuoxiaoduo reached here with a woo sound, the direction of the hammer's wind changed again. It was still an earth-shattering power, sweeping up the snowflakes within a radius of tens of meters, and madly sweeping towards this side. Even though he was still 7 to 8 meters away, he could already feel that tyrannical aura. It was still irresistible, and anyone who touched it would die. "Stop him!" the leader shouted, but he himself turned around and ran. This kind of power was not something that he or the other 2 survivors could withstand. The mission to kill Zhuoxiaoduo had completely failed. The most important thing now was whether or not he could escape. The other 2 were ready to fight with their lives on the line, but they saw their leader running away by himself. Before they could even feel the anger in their hearts, Iron Hammer Whirlwind was already in front of them. A woo sound rang out beside their ears. 2 screams were heard, and the 2 of them followed in the footsteps of their companions, turning into flying people. Halfway through the air they changed again, and turned into minced meat flying in the air, dead people in the air. Zhuoxiaoduo's hammer had succeeded. Seeing that the leader had already escaped more than 10 meters away, he roared loudly, and his body was lifted off the ground by the strong inertia of the 2 sledgehammers, rising 3 meters into the air. One of the sledgehammers left his hand, and with a thunderous force it flew out with a woo sound. The sledgehammer powerfully broke through the wind and snow. The 2000 gene sledgehammer was like a demon that suddenly flew out from hell, chasing in the direction of the leader's escape like a meteor chasing after the moon. Under the guidance of the huge inertia, the speed of the sledgehammer was even faster than the speed of light. In the small gap just now, the leader had used his fastest movement speed, and by now he had already run nearly 20 meters away. But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, he heard the soul-stirring sound of the wind behind him. He hurriedly looked back, and saw a huge sledgehammer rapidly growing in front of his eyes. "No!" he screamed, and despair surged on his face. The sledgehammer had already smashed into his lower back like lightning. With a boom, the leader's body, unable to withstand such a huge force, directly turned into a brilliant blood-colored firework. Completely disintegrated. After the sledgehammer smashed the enemy, its momentum did not change, and it continued to fly forward like a hot knife through butter. In one breath, it flew out 2,000 meters and broke a large tree. Only then did it reluctantly stop and stay in the snow. After throwing the sledgehammer, Zhuoxiaoduo's body was carried by the inertia of the remaining sledgehammer, and his body spun more than 100 times before it came to a stop. Damn, you're making me dizzy. Then he rushed through the wind and snow, and with a wave of his hand, the sledgehammer was put back into the space ring. Zhuoxiaoduo, who had annihilated more than 100 of the Wizard Alliance's attacking forces, was slightly relieved. He suddenly realized that his shoulders didn't seem to belong to him anymore. He couldn't even feel any pain. He was completely numb. Damn it. It's still too heavy. The inertia is too great. Zhuoxiaoduo grimaced. The hammer technique relied on inertia to hurt the enemy, and the hammer technique left by Blindhong made use of inertia to the extreme. Once the hammer was swung, the inertia would form, and even the hammer user himself would not be able to control it. The hammer of the Mat Demon was well deserved. Counting those who appeared, none of them should have escaped. This wave there are no survivors. What a pity, what a pity. Zhuoxiaoduo did not have much joy on his face. Instead, he was flustered and exasperated. These bastards, they really don't know any better. You should have stood still, lined up, and let Masters' dragon blood flying dagger stab you one by one. They really don't know any better. They can't even die, let alone live. This is so infuriating. Hey, there's still a ring. Zhuoxiaoduo kept the leader's ring, then went back to clean up the battlefield. His heart ached so much that he could not breathe. So many people, so many Origin Elixir Realm and Embryonic Breathing Realm practitioners, but none of them were absorbed by the dragon blood flying dagger. My heart aches. More than 100 people, but only 17 space rings were found. The rest were all smashed by the big hammer. What a waste. This is so heartbreaking. Zhuoxiaoduo felt that his heart ached so much that he was about to suffocate. It was not because the harvest was so little, but because he thought of a problem. In the future, when we face enemies, I'm afraid that most of the situations will be like this. Most of the enemy's space equipment will be smashed by the 9-9 cat hammer. This loss is simply too great. It's incalculable. Zhuoxiaoduo was very sad, but he also felt very helpless. Why the hell did I choose this thing as a weapon? There must be something wrong with my brain. How much less money will I earn like this? Everyone else has looted, but here I have a pile of broken pieces? This hammer, once it starts moving, it really can't be stopped. It's really. Zhuoxiaoduo sighed and moaned. He lamented for the time it took to drink a cup of tea. After collecting all the loot, he took a step forward again. In the heavy snow that did not seem to let up, he leaped all the way back to Phoenix Head. It's 9:30. Zhuoxiaoduo thought to himself as he ran. A gust of cool air descended from the sky. His luck points had increased by 4.5 drops. His whole body suddenly felt so comfortable that he wanted to moan. All the injuries and numbness were instantly swept away. There were so many people and I only gave 4 drops. I'm simply too stingy. I'm enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens, and I'm so good at foresight. I said there was a danger to my life and they all died. I should have given 100 drops. Too little, too little. On Phoenix Head, Yuanyue was wrapped in a thick fur coat, and even the wheelchair was covered with a thick quilt. The fur coat was fiery red, and it was still steaming in such a snowy night. Obviously it was a rare treasure. This is the best treasure to resist the cold, 5-tailed fire fox fur. Where did you get it? Yuanyue asked Zhang Zhongbin, who was sitting next to her. On Phoenix Head there were 5 people sitting together. Yuanyue, Zhang Zhongbin, Sun Fengho, Hu Ruiyun and Li Changjiang. I took it. Cough cough. Zhang Zhongbin coughed, and there was a rare awkwardness in his tone. I got it from that cheap old man. It looks good and I just got it. I was going to send it to you at the end of autumn, but I didn't expect it to snow so heavily in the summer. It can be considered to be used in advance. Everyone burst into laughter. Hu Ruiyun looked into the distance worriedly and murmured, "It's been a while since the message was sent." With Xiao Duo's current cultivation and strength, why hasn't he come yet? Could something have happened to him on the way? Sun Fengho said it can't be, right? Everyone's attention is focused on the star martial spirit crystal. What could have happened here? It's snowing so heavily, and no one flew him here. He only ran here on his 2 legs. It's not surprising that he's a little slow. Li Changjiang said. I'm just a little worried, Hu Ruoyan said. It'll be fine. He Yuanyue closed her eyes and said, Swixiao Duo is very lucky. Even if there are some obstacles, he won't really encounter any real danger. I think he'll be here soon. While they were talking, they heard the sound of someone stepping on the snow below. In the heavy snow, Swixiao Duo was not discovered until he was 20 meters away. When he finally came over, he sighed. This heavy snow. How long has it been? 1.5 hours? Now it's almost over my knees. What kind of weather is this? Swixiao Duo complained as he walked over. It's a hot summer and it's snowing heavily. Is this a rare thing? Chapter 300. He Yuanyue smiled faintly and said, This can be considered a rare thing, but it's too much to talk about the creation of the world. The Phoenix Vein in Phoenix City is occupied by an ice phoenix. The birth of the ice phoenix is accompanied by cold weather. Even if it's a hot summer, as long as the ice phoenix is born, it's normal for the sky to be covered in snow. It's not surprising at all. Ice phoenix. Swixiao Duo was lost in thought. Thinking of Zhuoxiaonian, he couldn't help but think, cat phoenix. He Yuanyue said, Xiao Duo, come to me. I can't look at Qi now. Take a look at the Qi and tell me what you see. Okay. Swixiao Duo agreed straightforwardly and quickly walked to the front of the old principal. Sun Fengho, Zhang Zhangbin, Li Changjiang, and Hu Ruoyun were all gloomy. He Yuanyue had already said that she didn't have much time left. If she were to forcefully use the aura viewing technique now, then she was afraid that she would have to leave this world immediately after she finished reading it. She wouldn't be able to wait for the moment when the Phoenix Pulse Spirit appeared. He Yuanyue didn't want to leave this regret. Even if she died, she wanted to die after the Phoenix Pulse Spirit. Swixiao Duo stood in front of He Yuanyue and looked at her. Between the heavens and the earth, there was only a vast expanse of white snow. The snowflakes were so dense that the visibility was almost zero. He really couldn't see anything. However, in the eyes of the Qi watchers, these snowflakes were completely non-existent. What they looked at was the Qi and Qi. The point of observation was never something that ordinary people could see with their naked eyes, but the general trend between heaven and earth. Even if the wind and snow were 10 times stronger, it would be difficult to have any effect. How spectacular! Swixiao Duo looked and suddenly let out a heartfelt exclamation. How spectacular! He Yuanyue asked. Between heaven and earth, there's a vast expanse. There's only one ice phoenix, constantly flapping its wings. Swixiao Duo said, now the heaven snow and earth fire have merged into one. It's probably time for wind and thunder to rise, heavenly fire to burn, snow to dance, and Qi to soar to the heavens. He Yuanyue closed her eyes and asked indifferently, how is the ice phoenix? He's very calm. He's strolling around freely, Swixiao Duo said. Are you taking a walk? He Yuanyue asked seriously. Looking around? Yes. What's the frequency of flapping? It's soothing and very leisurely. It's slow and unhurried. He Yuanyue was relieved. She said, to be able to be this calm and at ease, then the probability of success is higher. By the way, how is the ice phoenix's mental state? Is she excited? Swixiao Duo looked at him carefully and said, well, he doesn't look very excited, but overall he looks okay. Aren't you excited? He Yuanyue nodded. What time is it now? 9:57. Okay, wait a while. You can read it again at 11 o'clock to confirm the situation. All right. Everyone waited calmly and silently prayed for the success of this game. Heavy snow continued to fall, but the frequency of the snowfall didn't change in the slightest. The entire mountain range gradually became flat after the frequent snowfall. It was almost a flat plain. The heavy snow had filled up all the ravines that could be seen. On the other 3 sides that couldn't be seen, the fire still didn't slow down because of the heavy snow. Instead, it grew fiercer and fiercer. This was because countless black liquid gushed out of the ground like a fountain and turned into a pillar of fire. If the weather was clear, they might be able to see the truth of the fire if they stood on the phoenix head. But now the heavy snow had completely blocked their line of sight. They couldn't see any clues at all. The snow is waist-high. Zhang Zhongbin and Sun Fengho kept moving the accumulated snow around them and in front of them. They kept sighing. Phoenix City hasn't had such heavy snow for dozens of years. Now it's snowing, and it's even in summer. The sound of branches breaking under the heavy snow could be heard all around them. Everyone was still waiting quietly. As time passed little by little, it was already 10:30. He Yuanyue's complexion gradually became ugly as time passed. The redness on her face was fading bit by bit. At the side, Hu Ruoyun and the others felt as if their hearts were being stabbed by a knife. For today, she had taken countless secret medicines. She didn't care about the consequences and increased her mental strength and vitality at all costs. But now, she was losing her mental strength and vitality at a speed visible to the naked eye. Zhang Zhongbin looked at He Yuanyue worriedly. He immediately took out a box of pills from his bosom and took one out. Immediately, a fragrant smell assailed their nostrils. He begged, "Teacher, eat one." He Yuanyue turned her head with difficulty and nodded. "Okay. If I don't eat it, I'm afraid I won't be able to last until midnight. I might as well waste it." As he spoke, he reached out his hand to take the pill, but he found that he couldn't raise his hand. Even if he had a rare treasure like the fire fox fur, being in such a cold environment for a long time still caused the old principal's mental strength, endurance, and vitality to slowly drain away. Right now, he didn't even have the strength to move his hand. Zhang Zhongbin took the box and said, "Teacher, you just need to open your mouth." Then He Yuanyue's eyes widened. "Zhang Zhongbin, what are you doing?" All of a sudden, Zhang Zhongbin had stuffed an entire box of 5 pills into his mouth. Zhang Zhongbin laughed dryly. "This student made a mistake. Please punish me, teacher." He Yuanyue let out a long sigh. "It's useless, Zhongbin. I'm going to die tonight. There's no luck." Zhang Zhongbin and Sun Fengho's eyes turned red at the same time. He Yuanyue closed her eyes and didn't say anything else. She was trying her best to conserve every ounce of energy she had left. "It's 11 o'clock. Hu Ruoyun's voice trembled a little. He Yuanyue opened her eyes. Zhou Xiaoduo also immediately looked at where the ice phoenix was at this moment. The Zhou family was in a rare state of devastation. Well, many of the attackers first went to Zhou Xiaoduo's house to kill Zhou Xiaoduo, but Zhou Xiaoduo wasn't there. After these people broke the window, they immediately went out to chase after Zhou Xiaoduo, but the window was broken in the end. They wouldn't close the window like Zhou Xiaoduo. So now there was a thick layer of snow near the window of the Zhou family's house. When the clock struck 11 o'clock in Zhou Chonglu's study, a white jade rooster, which had been placed on the table as a decoration, suddenly melted. Well, it melted, inexplicably melted. Then a snow-white sparkling thing appeared. It quietly flew out of the window and went straight to the sky. That snow-white, translucent object let out a soft sound in midair before exploding on its own. At this moment, the millions of people in Phoenix City seemed to hear a clear and melodious phoenix cry in their hearts or souls. The sound was so pleasant that it seemed to hit their souls directly. At the same time, Zhou Xiaoduo opened his eyes and stared at the ice phoenix on the other side. The ice phoenix, which was wandering on the ground, suddenly raised its head. A white light rushed into the ice phoenix's head without any warning. The ice phoenix suddenly raised its head and flapped its wings violently. It slowly walked forward. At this moment, its steps were calm and confident, like a king descending to the world. The ice phoenix's demeanor changed. Zhou Xiaoduo promptly reported, "It's a kind of the feeling of a king descending to the world." But this feeling suddenly appeared. It's really strange. It wasn't there just now. He Yuanyue's face showed a sincere smile. This is the return of the ice phoenix spirit of the Feng Manor. The heavens are blessing us. All living beings are lucky. She said meaningfully, the Feng Manor that we haven't been able to find must have been taken away by someone a long time ago. They must have protected the ice phoenix spirit. Today, when the wind and clouds meet, the ice phoenix spirit will immediately appear to find its master. Not bad, not bad. He Yuanyue am not the only one in this world. Very lucky. Very lucky. Swishaoduo opened his eyes and looked at the ice phoenix. He found that the ice phoenix looked up at the sky and didn't change its posture for a long time. The ice phoenix is looking up at the sky. Seems to be waiting for something. Swishaoduo was puzzled and quickly reported. Wait for what? He Yuanyue was stunned. Now that everything is ready, what is there to wait for? That's not right. Swishaoduo exclaimed, in the east, there are large amounts of purple qi surging. Purple qi from the east. He Yuanyue's eyes suddenly widened. That's great, how much is there? A lot. And it's coming very quickly. Right now the entire east is filled with purple qi. Even now it still hasn't stopped gushing out. Still coming out. Swishaoduo's voice was hurried. This is a good thing. That's great. He Yuanyue was unable to contain her joy. The purple qi is still rushing over. It's already halfway there. But it's still gushing out from the east. It's already spread over half. No, it's already spread over the entire sky. Right now, the purple qi is merging with the ice phoenix. It's still gushing out from the east. Swishaoduo was stunned by his own words. How could it be so amazing? This purple qi that rushed into the sky, filled the sky with purple qi, and seemed to be coming out without end. How much was there? Just how strong was this qi and qi sign? He Yuanyue's smile grew wider and wider. The purple qi from the east connects heaven and earth, and the phoenix vein rushes to the ninth heaven. Good. At an unknown place far away. Oh no, the level of the phoenix vein. We underestimated it. It's already at the level of the heavenly vein. A person suddenly appeared on the mountain peak, looking anxious. He looked in a certain direction, then jumped up and turned into a long rainbow across the sky. The next moment he was about to tear the space apart. Following this person's movement, another long rainbow flew up from the direction of the Sun-Moon Pass, intercepting this long rainbow on the other side. The two long rainbows collided with each other, and with a loud boom, the whole mountain nearby collapsed. Then, the two long rainbows landed on two small hills respectively, showing their figures and looking at each other. The person who showed his figure was a middle-aged man in a purple robe. At this moment, he said with a gloomy face, Dongfang, you want to stop me? Monthly votes. Recommendation votes. Subscribe. Chapter 301. On the other side was a middle-aged man in a long green robe. His appearance was extremely scholarly. His brows were gentle and his eyes were smiling. He said, Lord Dankong, we have an agreement. The higher-ups are not allowed to interfere in this situation. Are you the one breaking the agreement now? Dankong said angrily, it was you who played dirty. That phoenix vein is definitely not an ordinary one. Dongfang remained calm and unruffled in the midst of the chaos. She said airily, these words are strange. Back then we were watching the heaven and earth fate mirror together. Why are you accusing us of playing dirty now? If you can't afford to lose, just say it. Who doesn't know who you are? We've been guarding against you for a long time. Dankong was furious. How can a phoenix vein of this level be stopped by a mere wolf? It's you who played dirty tricks and misled us. Dongfang said calmly, isn't your brother Dasui there too? Do you need me to teach you how to do it? Dankong snorted angrily, but he couldn't say anything. He couldn't say that their brother Dasui had returned, and had been fucking turned into a weak blind man by them. He was still in seclusion, and no one knew when he would come out. Despicable and shameless. Dankong scolded, you humans with astral souls are really despicable and shameless. Extremely despicable. Dongfang said with a smile, Dankong, let's not talk about anything else. Just looking at your flustered and exasperated appearance makes me feel so good. You can continue. I'm willing to watch you like this. I can even watch you for a year. This is what it means to be pleasing to the eye. Dankong was furious. You, go back. Dongfang said calmly. Even if you have mastered the power of space, you're still not at Zhu Wu's level. With such a long distance between us, can you make it in time? Dankong said dejectedly, if you don't stop me, of course I can make it in time. Then why don't you guess whether I stop you or not? Dongfang smiled playfully. Fuck your grandmother. Guess your grandpa. If you don't stop me, then you must have seen a ghost. Dan Kong scolded, no longer caring about his manners. Dongfang said leisurely, you actually scolded me. I didn't even scold you. How ungentlemanly. Fine. Fuck all the women of your ancestors. Dan Kong roared furiously. The wind and clouds in the sky were cut off. Dongfang, do you think you can defeat me? Dan Kong roared angrily. Dongfang smiled. I can't beat you, but do you dare to make a move against me? At this time? At the right moment, a surge of saber chi appeared from afar and locked onto Dan Kong. Dongfang smiled. I'm not your opponent, but if you dare to fight me, I only need to hold you back for a second, and the right heavenly king can kill this body of yours. Are you coming or not? Come on, come on. Those who have astral souls are the most shameless. Dan Kong cursed. Then his body flashed, turned into a rainbow and flew back. Dongfang rubbed his chin and smiled as he looked in the direction Dan Kong left. He said slowly, seeing that we are weak, he wanted to bully the weak. Who is the shameless one here? Fuck your ancestors. Then he stayed where he was and stood there waiting. After a long time there was a fluctuation in the air. Dan Kong appeared again. As soon as he appeared, he saw Dongfang. He immediately cursed, why the fuck are you still here? Dongfang smiled and said, why the fuck are you back? Dan Kong sighed dispiritedly. He cursed crazily for a while, and then disappeared again. This time he really went back. However, Dongfang still didn't go back. He still stood on top of the small mountain and circulated the true qi in his dantian. He repeated Dan Kong's curses word by word, and his voice was loud enough to shake 1,000 miles. Within thousands of miles, everyone was stunned to hear Commander Dongfang cursing in the street. And he was cursing Dan Kong, who had a higher cultivation than him. Everyone's hair stood on end. Commander Dongfang was really awesome. After scolding him twice, Dongfang finally went back to his room. Fuck, how dare he curse me? Even if I have to curse, I'll take advantage of cursing twice. Phoenix City. Phoenix turned back. The purple gas has completely covered the sky. It's so thick that it's almost turned into a purple mirror. Swishow Duo continued to report, although Phoenix is about to show her majesty, she's still looking up, as if she's waiting for something. Yuanyue frowned. What time is it now? 11:50. She's not ready to rush the soul. What is she waiting for? Don't delay the time. Swishow Duo also frowned, puzzled. I don't know. Something's wrong. What's wrong? Just now a huge fire dragon suddenly rushed down from the other side of the sky. Fuck. It came down in an instant. Swishow Duo was shocked. Yuanyue finally smiled comfortably. So Ice Phoenix is waiting for her partner. Good, with the fire dragon's protection we're more confident. Swishow Duo continued to report. The fire dragon is like the Ice Phoenix, its body is exposed and it circles around the Ice Phoenix. The phoenix's expression changed. It looked very happy and began to flap its wings. The phoenix began to soar. The phoenix soared. It began to soar. Swishoudwa's voice was filled with excitement. On the vast land, the huge ice phoenix's wings finally flapped crazily, and its 2 claws had already left the ground and flew up to then. Everyone clearly heard the phoenix's cry. It was a cry full of excitement, confidence, happiness, and peace of mind. Phoenix Cry World. Under Swishoudwa's gaze, the phoenix's feet touched the ground and suddenly flew up. Its wings flapped countless times in an instant, and then suddenly contracted to the side of its body. Its huge body turned into a huge snow-white arrow, and with its neck raised, it soared high into the sky, straight to the clouds. The fire dragon let out a roar and soared into the sky alongside the phoenix. Dragon Cry World. Dragon soar and phoenix dance. Star Martial Spirit Crystal. Zhuxiaonian, dressed in plain clothes, was sitting cross-legged in a room of more than 20 square meters, surrounded by blood-red soul crystals. She was the only one in the room. On the roof, Qin Fangyang and Han Song stood on the left and right, holding swords. On the other corner, there was another cloud transformation expert left by the Star Shield General Bureau, Yu Shilong. These 3 cloud transformation experts formed an unbreakable triangular line of defense. Below, Mu Yanyan, dressed in plain white clothes, sat cross-legged at the door of the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room. At the left window, Sister Lan stood with a saber, and on the other side, Qiu Yunshang looked around with a sword. Mu Yanyan's 3 fellow apprentices stood quietly at a distance of more than 10 meters in front of Mu Yanyan, fully focused on the surrounding movements. Around them, there was at least one soul transformation expert in every key position, either in the open or in the dark, on alert. At a rough estimate, there were more than 20 soul transformation cultivators participating in this defense. Such a powerful lineup of guardians could be said to be luxurious, even extravagant. Yes, it was extravagant. It was just a guardian mission for a woman to break through to the elixir realm. Normally, even if a soul transformation expert broke through to the cloud transformation realm, there would not be such a luxurious lineup of guardians. If it weren't for Zhuo Xiaoduo's actions, then the only person who would be guarding here would probably be Mu Yanyan. At most, there would be 1 or 2 nascent soul stage teachers in the academy. But at this moment, the core of the guardians had completely changed. Zhuo Xiaoyan sat in the room with a calm mind, without any joy or sorrow. He emptied his mind and soul and used all his strength to activate the true yuan that he had been suppressing in his body, making it circulate continuously in his meridians. Faster and faster, more and more urgent. She was waiting for the opportunity to break through. When the true core strength in her body reached the peak, it would be the time to break through. For this breakthrough, Zhuo Xiaoyan was fully confident. With more than 50 accumulations, there was no reason why she could not break through. However, if the phoenix vein did not move, her cultivation would be suppressed by the general trend, and she could not break through. This could be regarded as a manifestation of man's inability to overcome nature, and supernatural powers were not as good as nature. 10 o'clock. The true core strength in her body became more and more active, like boiling water. The temperature was on the verge of boiling. 10:30. The true core strength was boiling, and it was noisy and restless at high speed. Between heaven and earth, countless spiritual qi began to gather here, rushing into the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room like rivers flowing into the sea. Zhuo Xiaoyan's pretty face was still indifferent. She was calm and motionless, carefully feeling the true core strength in her body, waiting for the moment to break through. 11 o'clock. The gathering of spiritual qi filled the whole Star Martial Arts Academy, like a sea of spiritual qi, vast and boundless. Such momentum, even Qin Fangyang and others, could not help but change their expressions. When I broke through to the cloud transformation realm, there was no such momentum. Han Song was on full alert, but he was still shocked. Qin Fangyang curled his lips. I really don't know when I broke through to the cloud transformation realm, what kind of momentum it was. Even in such a solemn atmosphere, Han Song almost laughed out loud. This person broke through when he was unconscious. It would be strange if he knew. 11:30. The sound of a phoenix resonated in his heart. And also at this moment, in the thick snow, 3 starlights suddenly lit up. 2 in the north, 1 in the south. The 3 starlights shone, and the heavy snow was unable to block these 3 starlights. The 3 starlights crossed above the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room and slowly fell. And the intersection of the 3 stars was the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room. On the roof, Qin Fangyang said in a deep voice, "Everyone pay attention, the Killing Wolf formation has been formed. The enemy is coming." Everyone who heard this felt a chill in their hearts. In these 2 days, the governor's mansion and the Star Martial Spirit Shield had almost plowed the ground and checked all the surrounding buildings more than 100 times, just to prevent the UMNO alliance from setting up the Killing Wolf formation. But now that damn formation was still formed. Everyone really could not imagine how the other party did it. But the formation had already been formed. Even if they wanted to investigate, they would have to wait until later. What they needed to consider now was that with the formation of this formation, it was bound to increase the combat power of the UMNO alliance. The moment the killing formation was formed, even the vast amount of spiritual qi that gathered from all directions seemed to be stagnant at this moment. A voice seemed to resound in the netherworld. Kill. Kill the spiritual goddess. Right now. Kill. Chapter 302. The formation of Kill, Break, and Wolf had appeared at this critical moment. Then the aura of this place was controlled by the 3 stars. The place that they had been guarding had become the home ground of the enemy. This was a huge blow to the people guarding here. Was the Umno Alliance so powerful? Streaks of black gas separated from the starlight and headed in different directions. If one studied the direction of the black gas, they would be the best attack route. As the black gas broke through the air, the dense snow in the air seemed to be stirred up and broken into pieces. Streaks of black shadows suddenly appeared like ghosts. As far as the eye could see, there were more than 400 shadows. All of them were flying in the air and heading towards the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room. Qin Fengyang's expression changed. Although he had known that the strength of the attack would exceed the information he had received, this was too much. The number of people obviously exceeded the arrangement of the Star Emissary. The Star Emissary must have felt something and directly activated all the forces of the Umno Alliance in the Phoenix City. Kill! The guardians of the Phoenix City who were guarding here also flew out from their hiding places and tried their best to stop them. The moment the battle came into contact, an exceptionally tragic atmosphere appeared. The people of the Umno Alliance who came to attack this time were at least at the origin core realm. They were all fearless and rushed forward. Under the light of the 3 stars of Kill, Break, and Wolf, the strength of each of the Umno Alliance's experts was greatly enhanced. Originally, they were only at the origin core realm. Now, they were almost at the beginning of the nascent soul realm. Originally, they were at the high level of the nascent soul realm and could almost be used as clouds. This was the power of the astrology of the Umno Alliance. Screams sounded one after another. Just as the battle started, more than 10 people from both sides were bleeding in the air. With a weird laugh, a cloud in the air suddenly changed shape. A figure fell rapidly and its target was Qin Fengyang. The blade of the sword was eerie and murderous. Bastard of the Umno Alliance. Good timing. Qin Fengyang let out a long howl and brandished his long sword. Without dodging, he met the incoming enemy head-on and engaged in a fierce battle. As soon as they made contact, the 5 Qin Fengyangs all appeared and joined forces to attack the person they were fighting. Qin Fengyang was well aware of the dangers of this battle, so he went all out as soon as the battle began. He intended to finish off his opponent in the shortest amount of time possible and consolidate the defensive line on his side. The best strategy was to end the battle quickly. On the other hand, Han Song and Yu Shilong did not even lift their eyelids as they continued to guard their positions. At this critical juncture, protecting Zhou Xiaoyan was their top priority. Even if Qin Fengyang was killed in a single blow in front of them, they could only watch helplessly. His position must not be messed up. At this moment, Qin Fengyang was in the direction of the 7 kills formation, which was where the killing intent was the strongest. Han Song and Yu Shilong kept their heads down and did not move. In fact, they were fully focused and were careful to adapt to the situation. At this moment, with a loud boom, a huge piece of metal weighing hundreds of thousands of jin suddenly appeared right above the 3 stars open formation, smashing down with a loud bang. The landing point was the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room. Han Song and Yu Shilong were furious. Although they had expected this move, the piece of metal in front of them was too big and too heavy. The 2 of them roared at the same time and flew up from the ground. The 2 swords simultaneously launched the move of body and sword as one, turning into lightning and thunder to meet it. This huge piece of metal must be broken down before it smashed into the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room. If it was allowed to fall, the consequences would be unimaginable. Even if it did not directly hit the spiritual goddess, Zhou Xiaoyan in the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room would be exposed to everyone. Chi. Pieces of metal were broken down one by one, and the speed was extremely fast. However, boom boom boom. A series of noises could be heard. Surprisingly, another 7 or 8 pieces of metal of the same size were flying over. Moreover, they were not limited to the roof but from all directions. Everyone could no longer remain indifferent and wait, and they all made their moves. Only Mu Yinyan remained motionless, guarding the door behind her. Even if this piece of metal smashed directly on her head, she would not leave the position she was guarding. Her eldest senior brother, Zhang Zhilan, appeared in a flash and blocked the iron block that was facing her. At this moment, there were a few rapid air-braking sounds in the air again. It was 3 figures from 3 directions, rushing towards the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room. Mu Yinyan finally could not remain indifferent and screamed, "For Cloud Transformation Realm?" This sudden change was obviously out of everyone's expectation. No matter if it was the Phoenix City or the UMNO Alliance forces, that emissary, even when the UMNO Alliance members had a meeting, said that there would only be 2 Cloud Transformation Realm cultivators, but now there were already 4 Cloud Transformation Realm cultivators. And these 4 Cloud Transformation Realm cultivators did not include Feng Yinhua. Such a lineup was terrifying and appalling. If Shuo Duo knew that there was such a change, he would definitely curse. Damn it, you lied to me. Qin Fengyang, Han Song and Yu Shilong all used their strength to block, risking their lives. Han Yu and Yu Shilong did not hesitate to expend a lot of energy to block the Cloud Transformation Realm cultivators. But they had expended too much energy, and in a hurry to deal with the enemy, they were actually at a disadvantage. Qin Fengyang directly exploded one of his clones, causing his opponent to spit out blood and retreat. He steadily took his original position and fought with one of the people who rushed over. 1 against 2, the 5-direction sword showed its power. On the other side, Sister Lan calmly cut an incoming piece of metal. Suddenly, she let out a long roar, and around her body white clouds rose. Her long sword whistled like a dragon, and in the blink of an eye, more than 20 UMNO Alliance cultivators who rushed over were slaughtered. Boiling blood directly dyed the snow dozens of meters around. Cloud Transformation Realm. Another Cloud Transformation Realm cultivator. Sister Lan, who had been hiding her cultivation all this time and had never truly exposed it, finally revealed her true strength today. But in the eyes of Qin Fengyang and Han Song, Sister Lan's Cloud Transformation Realm was still somewhat unstable. She should have just broken through, and her foundation was not solid yet. The two of them understood. Sister Lan should be the same as Qin Fengyang. When she fought with Shang Qingyun last time, she touched a bottleneck and then broke through it. But no matter what, another Cloud Transformation Realm cultivator had appeared on their side. Although it was not a miracle, it was still a great encouragement. But a loud rumbling sound pulled everyone back to reality. Heavy pieces of metal attacked from all directions. With the sudden appearance of 4 Cloud Transformation Realm cultivators, Phoenix City's tight defensive line was finally unable to withstand the repeated attacks, and a flaw appeared. On one side of the wall of the Star Weapon Gold Crystal Room, a large hole was created by a piece of metal that slipped through the net. From outside, one could already see Zhuo Xiaonian sitting cross-legged inside. A figure laughed sinisterly, appearing like a ghost. The sword in his hand emitted a blood-red light as he rushed inside. It was actually the outfit of an old farmer who sold vegetables. He directly rushed into the Star Weapon Spirit Crystal Room. Another Cloud Transformation Realm cultivator actually joined the battle. Qin Fengyang was burning with anxiety. That's not right. The information given by Shuo Duo was completely inaccurate. The person who wanted to take advantage of the gap had only rushed out 2 meters when he suddenly let out a strange cry, as if he was fighting with someone. What was even more bizarre was that the person fighting with him did not appear from the beginning to the end. To the outsiders, it was as if that person was fighting with the air. Divine Shadow. The UMNO Alliance expert shouted, "There is a divine shadow beside the spiritual thought goddess. Activate the falling star plan." Hearing this, all the UMNO Alliance experts' expressions turned cold. Then, a tragic expression appeared on their faces. More than 20 Core Realm experts and 9 Nascent Soul Realm experts suddenly changed their attacks. They all rushed forward as if they did not care about their lives. When he reached the border, he even self-detonated his own flesh and blood body to the limit. After more than 30 loud noises, the area around the Star Weapon Spirit Crystal Room had been turned into ruins. But even in such an extreme battle atmosphere, the destroyed area was still suppressed to the area around the Star Weapon Spirit Crystal Room. Mu Yanyan, Qin Fengyang, and the others formed a big circle and spared no effort to maintain it, not letting the UMNO Alliance people rush in. But the people of the UMNO Alliance people were like crazy. They directly self-destructed when they could not rush in. Fortunately, the self-destructing cultivator was still at the Nascent Soul Realm. Otherwise, Qin Fengyang and the others would have suffered heavy casualties. But even so, the other side's self-detonation still exerted great pressure on the Phoenix City's experts. Han Song and Yu Shilong were caught in the explosion's shockwaves and staggered, while the other side was even more merciless, launching a series of attacks. The two of them roared angrily, but there was nothing they could do. They could only retreat step by step with blood splashing everywhere. At this time a tall figure seemed to fly in from the sky. In a flash, he had already joined the battle circle and blocked Qin Fengyang's attack. As soon as he attacked, Qin Fengyang fell into a disadvantage. "Go in," the person who came shouted in a low voice. If it was not Feng Yinhua, who else could it be? The UMNO Alliance sent out the 7th expert of the cloud transformation realm. Qin Fengyang and the others' hearts turned cold. How could there be so many? The 2 experts of the cloud transformation realm who replaced him roared and took a hit from Qin Fengyang. They had already rushed into the Star Weapon Spirit Crystal Room. However, when they entered, they were also intercepted by another divine shadow. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. These 2 people were already seriously injured. At this moment they were completely suppressed by the other divine shadow, and were completely at a disadvantage. But the Star Weapon Spirit Crystal Room was completely exposed to the void. Everyone could see that in the middle of the battle, Zhou Xiaonian was sitting quietly in a white robe. The true core qi above her head was slowly rising, forming a lotus flower in full bloom. She was about to succeed in breaking through. At this time the time was already 11:58. The cries of dragons and phoenixes sounded in everyone's hearts. The whole world was filled with the cries of dragons and phoenixes. The cries of dragons and phoenixes never stopped. Even in the midst of the heavy snow, even in the midst of the intense battle, everyone's eyes were still dazed for a moment. It was as if they saw a huge phoenix, surrounded by a huge dragon, soaring into the sky like a sharp arrow, all the way to the sky, advancing courageously, graceful and at ease, the ruler of the world. In front of them was the endless sky, the 9 heavens. The phoenix vein is breaking through the soul. The phoenix vein is breaking through the soul. No one knew who it was, but he shouted loudly. Chapter 303. Phoenix Meridian Soul Rushing. Hearing this, the masters of the UMNO Alliance became more and more desperate. They would rather use their own chests to block the opponent's sword and saber to move forward. Zhou Xiaonian, who was sitting cross-legged, operated her cultivation technique with all her strength. At this moment, she was so focused on breaking through that she did not even know what was happening around her. The only thing she could feel was that in her soul, there were bursts of lightning flashing in her sea of consciousness. Her whole person fell into a kind of dizziness and inexplicable state of chaos. At the same time, the vital energy that had been suppressed for a long time, waiting for an opportunity, completely exploded. It was overwhelming, like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Rushing towards the barrier of the inner core realm, the phoenix soared into the sky and flew towards the endless sky, never looking back, endlessly elegant. And a golden light flashed in the sky at this time, like a meteor rushing down. The whole world was suddenly filled with a strange fragrance. This was the real Phoenix Meridian Soul Rushing. All the birds within a radius of 10,000 miles, regardless of the heavy snow, flapped their wings and flew up. Mu Yinyan fought with all her strength, but her strength was not enough. She fought until her hair was disheveled and her hands were in a mess, but she still did not retreat half a step. She would rather die than retreat. Hundreds of people of the UMNO Alliance had been killed and self-detonated. Now there were only 40 people left, and there were only 17 or 18 masters left on the side of the Phoenix City. The rest were either seriously injured and unable to fight anymore, or had been sacrificed. Mu Yinyan's 2 junior brothers were also lying on the ground in the fierce battle, covered in blood, and no one knew whether they were dead or alive. At this time, another 6 nascent soul transformation masters of the UMNO Alliance rushed towards Mu Yinyan with no regard for their lives. Mu Yinyan shouted, "Senior brother, stop them." Senior brother came out with his sword, "Don't worry." However, the sword suddenly flashed, turned around quickly, and stabbed into Mu Yinyan's chest. This sword was simply earth-shattering. Mu Yinyan screamed and looked at her senior brother in disbelief. She grabbed the sword with one hand and blood gushed out. Her eyes were full of grief and indignation. "You?" Senior brother nodded slightly. "I'm sorry, junior sister. I'm from 7 kills." He was about to draw his sword when he finished speaking. But Mu Yinyan had lost her temper. She grabbed the sword and refused to let go. "You despicable person. I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." True essence surged around his body. It was clear that he was about to self-destruct and return to the underworld with his enemy. At this moment, Han Song let out a long and shrill cry. He had been hit by 3 palms and 1 sword. He flew over with blood all over his body. With a thunderous palm he hit Mu Yinyan's senior brother, Jiang Zhilan, and sent him flying. Then he swiftly pulled out the long sword and sent Mu Yinyan into the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room. "I'm so busy. This is an emergency." Han Song immediately turned around and once again blocked the Umno Alliance's Hua Yun. Mu Yinyan groaned miserably, but hurriedly used her Jinqi to seal the wound. Then she swallowed a large bottle of elixirs and screamed miserably, "Jiang Zhilan, you bastard!" Blood trickled from the corner of Jiang Zhilan's mouth, but he grinned hideously as he charged forward again. On this side, the defense line had lost another link. It was getting more and more dangerous. Almost all the people who were guarding Zhou Xiaonian had been transferred away. Even the 2 divine shadows were in a fierce battle at this moment. They were in imminent danger. As long as one of the enemies rushed in, all their previous efforts would be wasted. At this moment, Fang Yinhua let out a long and shrill cry, "Charge in at all costs." Before his voice died away, he had already taken the lead and rushed down. His palms struck out at the same time. The power of his palms was like a giant hammer, rushing toward Han Song and Yu Shilong who were blocking him. "Charge in!" The other Hua Yun masters of the Umno Alliance saw hope. They used all their strength to attack fiercely and shake the defense line. Together with Jiang Zhilan's attack, 6 directions were in danger at the same time. Qin Fangyang opened his eyes wide and shouted, "Explode! Explode! Explode!" The 3 clones exploded at the same time. The 3 Hua Yun masters were almost smashed into pieces by the explosion. 2 of them had one of their shoulders and one of their legs blown away. However, Qin Fangyang also spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His body was shaking and his face was pale. At this moment, Fang Yinhua and the other Hua Yun master of the Umno Alliance had already rushed in. At this moment it was 12 o'clock sharp. Zhou Xiaonian only felt that the vital energy in his body was flowing into the ocean, crashing into the barrier of the inner Dan stage with an unstoppable force. With a light cracking sound, the barrier of the inner Dan stage was broken. The river-like vital energy rushed into the new meridians and flowed at an extremely fast speed. This moment, charge! Fang Yinhua and the other Hua Yun master had already rushed to Zhou Xiaonian's side. The 2 immortal shadows exerted all their strength. They did not even care about hiding their bodies anymore. They wanted to stop them, but their opponents were also using all their strength to fight. The 2 immortal shadows were powerless. They could only sigh helplessly that the golden light in the sky that was filled with the essence of Tao had already shot into the Star Martial Soul Crystal. It was only 2 feet away from Zhou Xiaonian at this moment. The Hua Yun master of the Umno Alliance who rushed in first shouted and slashed at the defenseless Zhou Xiaonian with his sword. His face was filled with a ferocious and cruel smile. However, at the next moment he suddenly shouted. The long sword stopped in the air. His expression turned into shock and disbelief. He let out a loud cry. It was Fang Yinhua who had taken advantage of the opening to strike. One hand had ruthlessly pierced into his chest, grabbing his heart and crushing it without any hesitation. The other hand had pierced into his dantian at the same speed, shattering his soul source with a bang. Following which, he separated his hands and tossed the Cloud Transformation Realm expert's body into minced meat. He even shouted, "Quick! Kill the spiritual thought goddess and it will be a success." Similarly, at this moment, the golden light of Tao rushed into Zhou Xiaonian's body. An extremely joyous phoenix cry resounded in everyone's souls. A small phoenix shadow flashed above Zhou Xiaonian's head and then disappeared. An unbelievably powerful aura was emitted from his body. It covered the sky and covered the earth. Phoenix meridians rushed to the soul. Success! Just as the 2 immortal shadows were stunned, Fang Yinhua swept past like a whirlwind and smashed a Hua Yun master of the Umno Alliance into pieces. He grabbed his original soul and scolded, "What are you doing? Kill her." As he spoke, he rushed in front of Jiang Zhilan. Jiang Zhilan was stunned in disbelief. He punched his head and smashed his original soul. Then his body floated up. "Oh, kill the spiritual thought goddess." He rushed toward the battle in the sky. Fang Yinua's true cultivation was definitely not below Qin Fangyang's. He was also the one with the most complete combat power among all the people present. At the same time, he was also familiar with the strength of the people in the Wizard Alliance. He directly rushed into the battlefield where Han Song and Yu Shilong were and shouted, "Long live the Celestial Wizard! We will succeed!" Bang! Bang! In just a moment, the three Huayun masters who were almost blown away by Qin Fangyang's self-explosion were all killed. One of them was still confused even when he died. "Brother Fang, I killed the wrong person." "It's okay." Fang Yinua comforted him. "Go in peace. I am here." After killing him with a slap, he did not stop and rush toward the Huayun master who was fighting with Sister Lan. He shouted, "Let's attack together. Don't let any of them escape." Everyone was shocked. Fang Yinua's shout was actually a woman's voice. Where did this drama queen come from? Fang Yinua roared as he continued to attack without a care in the world. At this moment, the battle was over. Other than the people who were fighting with Sister Lan and the people who were fighting with the two divine shadows, the rest of the experts from the Wizard Alliance had all died. None of them were lucky. The rest of the people rushed forward and killed the Alliance's experts who were shocked out of their wits. However, the people on their side looked at this great expert who had suddenly appeared with confused eyes. Everyone was confused. This person. His cultivation is so high. Where did he come from? This is simply that the rest of the battle was completely one-sided. The experts of the Wizard Alliance were all slaughtered, just as Fang Yinua had expected. Even Fang Yinua's martial nephews, Yun Juing and Pan Yusheng, were killed by Fang Yinua himself. Yun Juing and Pan Yusheng looked at their martial uncle in disbelief. Their whole lives were turned upside down at this moment. They did not expect such a thing to happen. Martial uncle? Yun Juying's handsome face was filled with despair and disbelief. Alliance's thieves. Give me your lives. Fang Yinua used a woman's voice to curse and killed his two martial nephews with a sword. After that, he still did not greet anyone. He searched around the battlefield, afraid that there would be some fish that escaped the net. This kind of viciousness, this kind of viciousness, this kind of viciousness, it was even more vicious than the protectors of Phoenix City. However, the dust had settled. The Phoenix Meridian Soul Awakening was successful. The 6 Alliance's experts in the Cloud Transformation Realm were all dead. Sister Lan, please continue to protect the spiritual senses. The rest of you check the casualties and treat the injured. Han Song and Yu Shilong had already checked Mu Yanyan's injuries. Although the sword had pierced her chest, they did not know if it was a blessing in disguise or if Jiang Zhilan still had a bit of conscience and did not directly pierce her heart. Although Mu Yanyan's injuries were extremely serious, her life was not in danger. As for the others, 7 nascent soul transformation realm experts died. 4 nascent soul transformation realm experts were seriously injured. Qin Fangyang self-destructed 4 doppelgangers and injured his origin. This was an extremely heavy price to pay. Qiu Yunshang was the luckiest this time. As soon as he came up, he was attacked by a cloud transformation realm expert. He vomited blood and fainted. In the end, he was the one with the lightest injuries. This brother, how should I address you? Han Song finally looked at Fang Yinua and asked. He saw Fang Yinua's mask. Han Song had good eyesight. He immediately knew that the other party did not want to reveal his identity. While he was stunned, he saw Fang Yinua start to move again. A sword pierced through his thigh. Another sword slashed his lower abdomen. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. He smashed his right shoulder with his left palm and broke his right leg with his right fist. He used his hand to pull his left ear, and half of it fell off. Only his skin and flesh were left. Finally, he smashed his own head with a bang. Blood gushed out. Then, he let out a long and mournful cry, and flew into the air. I will be back. You will not succeed. The final victory will always belong to the Alliance. Long live the heavenly witches. Today is the 3rd watch. I just finished writing. If I were to write the final battle scene, it would not be difficult to write an extra chapter. However, I thought about it and decided not to write it. Looking for monthly votes, subscriptions, recommendation tickets. Chapter 304. Fong Yinhua howled in grief and indignation as he fled desperately, as if there were countless experts chasing after him. In an instant, he disappeared without a trace. Black lines appeared on everyone's forehead. His acting skills were really on point. However, this guy was really ruthless. He was ruthless to others and even more ruthless to himself. He could really do it. This news must be kept a secret. He should be a spy arranged by our higher-ups. In order to achieve today's situation, we had no choice but to expose ourselves. I don't know if there will be any risks when we return. Han Song let out a long sigh. Clean up the bodies of our brothers. Yu Shilong's face was very heavy, but there was also a trace of relief. The Phoenix Vein soul washing had finally succeeded. Now Zhou Xiaonian had successfully broken through. She would wake up after her star essence chi was completely stabilized. From another point of view, they had only sacrificed a few people and wiped out the UMNO Alliance's forces. A total of 7 transforming cloud cultivators had died here. The killing, destroying, and wolf sects had also been wiped out. This could be said to be a glorious victory. However, as long as there were sacrifices, no matter how great the victory was, there would always be a shadow of sadness, which would make people unable to be completely happy. The Phoenix Vein soul washing had ended. High up in the sky, a figure quietly heaved a sigh of relief and disappeared in a flash. Higher up in the sky, 2 extremely powerful auras were confronting each other. The moment the Phoenix Vein soul washing succeeded, among them, an inexplicable aura shook slightly. Then it quietly retreated for a full 3,000 miles. The gap left by this aura was immediately occupied by another aura. You've lost this round. Don't be complacent. You may not necessarily win this round. You'll lose again. You have the will of the astral souls. You have the geographical advantage. On the other hand, my will of the oracle soul is from another world. It's normal for you to have the upper hand. You and I are originally one. Why do we have to decide the winner? No need to say more. Focus on the source. Focus on the source. Don't interfere. Of course, it's up to fate. North of Phoenix City, Phoenix turning back. Midnight. Swixiao Duo stared at it without blinking. How is it? At this time, He Yuanyue's voice was already very weak, and her voice was somewhat faint. The phoenix has already soared into the sky. However, the UMNO Alliance has been plotting for a long time and has finally taken action. They have broken through the descending stars formation of the 3 sects of the Wolf sect and sealed it off. Astral powers have filled the air, indicating that the 2 sides are engaged in a fierce battle. Zhuo Duo said, "How about the purple qi?" He Yuanyue's voice was intermittent. The purple gas filling the sky is still the same. Although it has been affected by the star formation of the Killbreak Wolf, judging from the current signs, it is not a big problem. The ones that are dispersed are not as numerous as the ones that continue to emerge. That's good. We still have the upper hand. The fire dragon is protecting the phoenix. It is hovering around the phoenix, disintegrating and destroying the power of the killing wolf star array bit by bit. While disintegrating and destroying the array, the fire dragon soared into the sky. Zhuo Duo watched carefully. All right. In the Providence array, the phoenix's posture was the same as before. It flew high into the sky, ignoring everything else. The other shore was right in front of them. Beside me, I have companions. I don't need to worry about safety. I don't need to worry about life or death. I don't need to worry about success or failure. I will leave everything to him. The fire dragon was hovering around the phoenix. Its enormous body formed an enormous shield of light, which protected the phoenix that was soaring into the sky like a sharp arrow. Even if there were spears and arrows coming from all directions, so what? None of them could take half a step forward. In the sky, the roars of dragons and phoenixes were faintly echoing. There was also the sound of thunder, which was like the beating of ancient war drums. Every beat was knocking on people's hearts and souls. The purple chi in the sky was getting denser and denser. With another explosion, the phoenix broke through a patch of dark clouds. It didn't stop for even a moment, and it had already reached the heavens. The fire dragon was still flying side by side with the phoenix. Finally, the starlight array of the Killbreak Wolf star array could not withstand the impact of the purple chi in the sky and the roars of dragons and phoenixes anymore. It collapsed from point to line and from line to surface. The starlight trembled in the sky. Then it collapsed into a rain of light and disappeared. In the distant sky, the 3 stars of the Kill-Break Wolf star array suddenly dimmed. At this moment, the phoenix let out an extremely joyful cry. Its originally retracted wings suddenly spread open. Its wings reached the sky and spread far and wide. An indescribable aura pervaded the sky. The world was suddenly filled with a pure and holy light that belonged to the ice phoenix. Specks of white light instantly formed endless waves. They rushed over wave after wave, carrying the gratitude of the phoenix, and poured into the purple chi in the sky. The phoenix spread its wings and soared into the depths of the 9 heavens. The fire dragon was still hovering in the sky, scattering red specks of light in the sky. This was the fire dragon's gratitude. Together with the specks of light scattered by the phoenix, they scattered into the purple chi. However, compared to the phoenix's white light that filled the sky like a rising tide, the fire dragon's red light was much less. At most, it was only 1/10 of the phoenix's. The Phoenix Vein Soul Charging Array has succeeded. Zuoxiao Duo shouted joyfully. The dragon and the phoenix are showing their gratitude. However, this fire dragon is too stingy. It's so stingy that it only gave back so little. It's far less generous than the phoenix. It really makes people want to beat it up. He Yuanyue was on the verge of death. However, when she heard this sentence, she couldn't help but smile. The dragon and the phoenix returned together. The purple chi in the sky turned into countless purple rays of light, like rainbows crossing the sky. Among them, the 2 thickest rays of light took up almost 80% of all the purple chi. Together with the dragon and the phoenix, they soared into the 9 heavens. Together with the sky, the other purple chi converged into 2 streams of brilliant luck, which descended with a loud rumble. The first one went straight to the Star Martial Spirit Crystal Room and fell on top of Zuoxiaoyan's head. The other 2 flew back and one fell on top of Zuoxiao's head. The other one was slightly weaker. It fell on top of He Yuanyue's head and disappeared in a flash. Following which, the other strands of purple chi disappeared into the corresponding person's body, including Li Chongjiang, Hu Ruoyun Jiangzhangbin, Sun Fengho. There were also Mu Yinyan, Qin Fengyang, Sister Lan Hansong, Yu Shilong, Qiu Yunshang, and the others. In addition, all the people who participated in the battle, all the people who were injured and unconscious, and even those who had sacrificed themselves. Especially those who had sacrificed themselves, there was a streak of purple chi that accurately found their families and fed back to their children. In the end, the 2 streaks of purple chi landed in 2 places. One went to the 2nd high school, and the other went to the Star Martial Arts Academy. The Phoenix's feedback was not left out by anyone who had contributed to the Phoenix Vein Soul Charging Array. The gratitude was forever remembered by these people who had sacrificed for the Phoenix Vein Soul Charging Array. Even Gu Luoyan and Wan Pingyuan in the governor's mansion had a share. In addition to the benefits, the remaining purple chi quietly sank into the ground of Phoenix City, feeding back to the earth and thanking it for bearing the heavens. As for Fang Yinhua, who had escaped cough, he was the only one who didn't get anything. The south wind rose. The dark clouds in the sky were slowly drifting away. The image of a phoenix quietly appeared in the sky above the entire Phoenix City. It quietly overlooked the city for a long time, and then silently dissipated. Phoenix Vein Soul Charging Array. Complete success. At this point, Zuoxiao's heart finally fell to the ground, and he cried out happily. He Yuanyue's originally blurred eyes suddenly flashed with an incomparably bright light. She said repeatedly, "Good, good, good, ha ha ha." He let out a long laugh, filled with endless gratification and satisfaction. Her laughter was actually still powerful, the final radiance of the setting sun. Beside her, Jiang Zhongbin's entire body shook. He had been holding the phone in his hand all this time, and he immediately dialed the number he had already dialed. In a low and hurried voice, he said with a sobbing tone, "Teacher Lan, quickly bring Lai Feng back." Although He Yuanyue had always refused to admit that she was Lu Qianqian, Jiang Zhongbin had already prepared himself. No matter what, he didn't want his teacher to have this lifelong regret. Hatred in the underworld. He Yuanyue could no longer hear anything now. She smiled with relief and only felt that her heart was at ease. She had no more regrets in this life. After 80 years of hard work, the trees have finally grown into shade, and the world is filled with students. After 40 years of planning, in the end the phoenix meridian surges into the soul, and the astral souls prosper. He Yuanyue's face was flushed red. She smiled and said, I, He Yuanyue, have lived a worthy life. Atop the snowy phoenix head, He Yuanyue smiled in gratification. She looked at the endless mountains and rivers in front of her, wrapped in silver and white. Her eyes were filled with boundless affection, boundless yearning. I really don't want to leave. Her life force was rapidly fading away from her body. Her voice was low and deep. Although it was getting weaker, it was still clear. I, He Yuanyue, have a clear conscience in this life. I have a clear conscience to the astral souls. I have a clear conscience to mankind. I have a clear conscience to my students and my country. His voice was completely weak. She opened her eyes, sparkling and translucent tears flashing in her eyes. But I, Lu Qianqian, in this life the only thing I have done wrong to you, the only thing I owe you. She stared blankly at the void and muttered, Fengyang. On the other side, Sister Lan immediately hung up the phone and shouted, Qin Fengyang. Qin Fengyang's avatars had all exploded in this battle, and his internal organs were all injured. His injuries were so serious that they could not be healed. At this moment, his face was as pale as paper, and he kept vomiting blood. He was in a daze. At this moment he was barely hanging on, waiting to confirm the completion of the layout of the phoenix vein. Suddenly, he heard the voice and opened his eyes weakly. What is it? Hurry up and follow me. Sister Lan flashed like a hurricane, grabbed Qin Fengyang, and rushed toward the phoenix head without sparing any effort. Her speed was so fast that it was shocking. As soon as she started, there was already a wisp of smoke in the air behind her. The old principal is dying. This sentence was like a bomb, shaking everyone's heart and soul, and they all rushed over here. Mu Yanyan was seriously injured, and her voice was weak. Take Xiaonian. Xiaonian is the child that the old principal cares about the most. The two divine shadows did not hesitate and rotated at the same time. One carried Zhou Xiaonian, who had successfully broken through and was about to wake up, and the other carried Mu Yanyan. Only then did they soar into the sky and rush away. Although the wind and snow had weakened, it was still overwhelming. Sister Lan was so anxious that she did not hesitate to burn her life, potential and divine soul. She rushed forward crazily with Qin Fengyang. Hundreds of miles of space flashed by. The moment they saw the phoenix head, the two had already fallen like sharp arrows. When Qin Fengyang, who was already heavily injured and unable to continue, saw Feng turn her head around, he instantly understood. He did not know where his strength came from, but with a roar, he broke free from Sister Lan's grasp and charged forward without a care in the world. He rushed to the front of the wheelchair and stared at the person who was no longer moving. Qin Fengyang trembled all over. He opened his mouth but could not speak. There was a sound in his throat, like the sad cry of a dying beast. He reached out his hand. At this moment there was no more scruples. He gently took the person in front of him into his arms. Tears trickled down from his eyes. He Yuanyue was in a dying state at this moment. She could not see. Fortunately, she could still feel her body. She felt that her body seemed to have fallen into a warm, strong, and reliable embrace. This feeling was somewhat familiar, yet strange at the same time. However, his originally drifting heart suddenly calmed down, and he actually felt that the slight fear he had towards the other world had also instantly disappeared. Her whole body was quiet. She closed her eyes and asked in a trembling voice, Who is it? Qin Fengyang closed his eyes and tried to control his sobs. He tried to calm his voice and said slowly, It's me. Oh. He Yuanyue leaned more and more quietly in his arms. There was only one last thought left in her mind. I am so happy. I can die in his arms in this life. I am so relieved. Suddenly she thought of something. She desperately opened her eyes and said, I am Hyun. Qin Fengyang nodded hard. Old principal. Old principal. I am here. In the air, countless figures were falling. Their voices seemed to be shouting, Old principal. Old principal. Zhou Xiaonian's voice suddenly sounded. She choked, Grandma He. Grandma He, I have successfully broken through. Please open your eyes and look. He Yuanyue tried hard to open her eyes but she could not. She could only feel the figures in front of her. She quietly leaned in Qin Fengyang's arms. With the last of her strength she murmured, "It's so warm. I am so happy." Her body moved slightly, and then she stopped breathing forever. However, her face was full of satisfaction and happiness. The corners of her mouth were curved, and there was a smile. Her lifelong wish had been fulfilled. Her phoenix meridian had successfully broken through her soul. Before she died, her lover was by her side. Her embrace was warm, and her soul was supported. Qin Fengyang did not move. He just hugged her like that. He rested his chin on her head and rubbed it gently. He kept his mouth shut. 2 lines of tears silently dripped down from He Yuanyue's smiling face like a small river. However, He Yuanyue did not feel anything at all. Old principal. Zhangzhangbin Li Changjiang, Hu Ruiying at everyone cried out in grief at the same time and knelt on the ground in unison. Zuoxiaoduo and Zuoxiaonian knelt at the front. In an instant the entire phoenix head was filled with cries and sorrowful cries. Everyone felt as if their minds had suddenly gone blank for a moment. The wind whistled, and snow flew everywhere. The entire world was covered in white, and everything was clean. It was like the holy light of the full moon shining on the vast earth. After a long time, Sister Lan's bleak voice sounded, "Don't cry. The old principal has sacrificed everything for the country, for the people, for Second High, and for the students. Now her wish has been fulfilled. She has passed away with a smile. This is a happy funeral. She is finally not so tired anymore." Sister Lan asked everyone not to cry, but she herself was like a tearful person. Jiang Zhangbin's body trembled. He really felt like the sky had collapsed. The old principal, who had been like a mother to him, was gone. "I don't have a teacher. I don't have a teacher. I don't have a teacher anymore." Jiang Zhangbin cried loudly. Suddenly he grabbed Li Changjiang and shouted angrily, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying? As the principal, why are you crying at this time? Hurry up and send the news of the old principal's death to Second High School. Send the teacher off. Tell all the brats who left Second High. All of them come back. Send the old principal off. Every one of them is the child of the old principal's heart. The old principal used her life's effort to raise us. I want to see who dares to not come back today. We are useless, useless." Zhang Zhangbin looked up and roared angrily. All these years, more than tens of thousands of students have left Second High, but not a single one of them could get the medicine to prolong the old principal's life. What use do we have for you? What use do we have for you? We only sucked the old principal's blood dry to grow, but we didn't get anything in return. Zhang Zhangbin looked up and roared angrily. What use do we have for you? Li Changjiang cried as she turned on her phone and sent a message to all the Second High School students. The old principal, He Yuanyue, passed away at midnight on the 16th of July. All Second High School students who see this message, please send this message. All the old principal's students, go home and send the old principal off. Once the message was sent out, it immediately caused a commotion everywhere. The old principal. All the students who were still in Phoenix City saw this message. It was as if they had seen a bolt from the blue. They immediately got out of bed and put on their clothes. They rushed out of their houses in tears and trekked through the snow to gather at Second High School. The tide of people from all directions gathered at Second High School in the waist-high snow. When the students of number 2 high school who were already out of town saw the news, they immediately pushed aside everything they had to do and used all their means to find the fastest way to get to Phoenix City. Sun Moon Pass. In a certain military camp, a few bursting cries suddenly resounded through the military camp. The old principal. Then, a few burly men rushed into Shangguan Army's tent like a whirlwind. Their eyes were red and their faces were filled with tears. They were sorrowful, requesting leave. In various cities, streaks of light shot into the sky and headed towards Phoenix City. To send the old principal off. He Yuanyue spent her entire life teaching. It was not an exaggeration to say that she had students all over the world. Countless people were crying and running back. I originally wanted to report to the old principal after I had some achievements. At least I would have the face to tell her that her efforts were not in vain. I really deserved to die. Why couldn't I go back earlier? Old principal. We are here to send you off. Countless people were still watching in their sleep. Their phones kept ringing. They woke up impatiently to answer the phone. Then they fell into a daze with tears streaming down their faces. The moment they came back to their senses, they put on their clothes and headed back in the starry night, above Phoenix's head. Qin Fengyang was still hugging He Yuanyue tightly. No matter how anyone tried to persuade him, he would not let go. So light, so skinny, Qin Fengyang murmured as he carried He Yuanyue down the mountain slowly. It was as if he was carrying the only treasure in his life. He was so careful, so cautious, and so protective. I know you are He Yuanyue, you are He Yuanyue, you are not Lu Qianqian. Is this what you want to say? Qin Fengyang murmured to himself, yes, you are He Yuanyue, so what? You are Lu Qianqian, so what? In the end you left me behind. Just like that time in Shangjing. You left me behind. And never returned. You are so cruel. Last time when you left me behind I could still find you. Even if I searched for a lifetime I would still have some hope. But this time, from now on the spring flowers, autumn moon, summer wind, winter snow, everything in this world is meaningless to me. From now on, I will be the only one left in this world. Facing the wind, the frost, the furnace of heaven and earth, I will bear everything alone. There will be no more you, no more. You are so cruel. Before you left, you arranged so many things for me, so many regrets. You said you had so many things that you couldn't let go of. You just wanted me to do it for you, to complete it. I understand, I understand. You thought of everything for me. But you didn't think about what would happen to me without you. What would happen to me? Do you know how much I missed you all these years? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Back then you said that we would stay together for the rest of our lives. Back then you said that we would have children together. Back then you said that we would see the world together and grow old together. Qin Fengyang murmured. But in this life I lost you completely. Lu Qianqian, do you know how much you owe me? How are you going to repay me? How are you going to repay me? 100 years of missing you. 80 years of searching, and a lifetime of yearning and loneliness. How are you going to repay me? How are you going to repay me? Give me back. Qin Fengyang was bleeding from his orifices, but he didn't seem to notice. He suddenly growled, give me back. Give me back. Give me back. His vision turned black, and his body swayed a few times before he fainted. Everyone around him cried out in alarm. Swishow Duo searched for a long time. He asked Swishounian, who had just broken through, to carry him. They spent an entire day and a half flying around Phoenix City in search of Hiyunua's resting place. In the end, they confirmed that it was at the foot of Phoenix Huta's mountain peak. The old principal spent her entire life observing Phoenix City's providence. Let's leave her resting place here. She'll watch all her students live and work in peace. She'll watch as Phoenix City's providence rises day by day. She'll watch as the Phoenix vein is reborn. After confirming the location of the tomb, they decided on the manpower and began digging. Jiang Zhongbin and Sun Fingho's eyes were red. They almost fought with the students who rushed back. Of course I'll build the old principal's resting place with my own hands. In the end, 8 of Hiyuanua's former students carried tools and headed to Phoenix Hui 2. All of Hiyuanua's former students were dressed in white. They arrived at the same time to dig the tomb for the old principal. As they dug, their cries shook the sky. Streams of light came from all over the world. In front of the Sun Moon Pass, Marshal Dongfang specially sent out a military spaceship. All the soldiers from Second High boarded the spaceship and rushed back through the night. July 18th. Phoenix City was covered in mourning clothes. Thousands of miles of Phoenix City was filled with sorrowful music. The hearse started and circled around Second High. Then it slowly left and drove toward Phoenix Hui 2. Paper money fluttered in the air. It was as if the old principal was reluctant to leave Second High School, unable to bear to leave. On this day, all the flowers in Second High withered. All the students of Number 2 High School, including those who had graduated, as long as they were still alive, quietly followed behind the hearse and lined up spontaneously. Their clothes were as white as snow. The whole land was filled with holy white waves. They slowly moved toward Phoenix Hui 2. At the front was a huge photo of Hiyuanyue. She was still looking forward with a gentle and loving gaze. The two sides of the couplet were intertwined. The world of students, the eternal paragon. Some people once said that the eternal paragon was too much. However, the students of second high insisted on using this sentence. There was no room for doubt. His white clothes were like the tide, endless and endless. Qin Fengyang's face was haggard as he walked at the front. Jiang Zhongbin and Hu Ruoyun felt like their hearts were being cut by a knife. In this last journey, Qin Fengyang could not use the identity of He Yuanyue's husband that he had hoped for the most, and that He Yuanyue had longed for the most. How cruel was this to such a pair of lovers? The only thing they could do was to let Qin Fengyang walk at the front, and use silent facts to comfort this pair of lovers. The withered hearts of the living, the souls of the deceased in heaven. Zhou Xiaoduo and Zhou Xiaonian, one on the left and one on the right, held the photo. The procession slowly moved forward. There were still people in white mourning clothes rushing over from all directions in the sky. They quietly landed and consciously joined the procession, joining the funeral procession. This procession stretched for 60 miles out of the city. There were many people in white waiting quietly at the city gate, waiting to leave the city and join the procession. No one spoke and no one cried. Along the way, no one made a sound. They were all afraid of disturbing the old principal's final review in heaven. Don't cry. Let the old principal leave quietly. Quietly, take one last look at second high, take one last look at us, and look at Phoenix City for one night. However, hot tears had already wet the ground within 100 miles. Countless students sobbed silently. They trembled and fainted a few times until someone reminded them, speed up. Don't delay the old principal's burial time. Only then did the procession slowly speed up. Above Phoenix Head, the tomb had been dug. It leaned against the mountain and stood facing the sun. There were dragons on the left and phoenixes on the right. There was wind and water. All the funerary items had been placed in. Inside there were countless treasures. They were all sent by the students. It was said that the treasures could increase the fortune of the past and future lives. Zhang Zhongbin, Sun Fengho, and the other students chose 8 representatives. They worked together to carry the coffin forward quietly. They did not dare to move at all. They were afraid of disturbing the old principal who had given them a new lease on life. Finally, the coffin fell silently and was sent into the tomb. Everyone knelt down in unison. Jiang Zhongbin and the others, who were at the front, held shovels and began to fill the soil silently. Every time a handful of soil fell, everyone felt a heart-wrenching pain in their hearts. It seemed that with every handful of soil that fell, they were further away from the old principal. That when the last handful of soil fell, everyone began to lay stones and lay the tombstone. The tomb of He Yuanyue, the principal of second high. It was such a simple name. On one side was the poem written by Zhou Xiaoduo. There are many regrets in this life. My great love fills the galaxy. The spring breeze spreads across the world. Thousands of years of history are carved in jade. This was what He Yuanyue had chosen when she was alive. On the other side, the plum blossom small seal recorded He Yuanyue's life. On the tombstone, He Yuanyue's gentle and loving face was still quietly looking at everything in front of her. She looked at her students, looked at the phoenix vein that she had worked hard for her life, and looked at the thousands of lights in Phoenix City. 3 incense sticks were slowly lit. Everyone was still silent. They did not dare to make a sound for fear of disturbing the deceased. Finally, with tears in his eyes, Zhang Zhongbin pursed his lips and said in a trembling voice, "The old principal is already in peace. Now you don't have to worry about disturbing her. All of you can cry to your heart's content." As soon as he finished speaking, a deafening cry sounded. It was the cry that had been suppressed for a long time. At this moment, it was finally time to vent to their heart's content. Many people cried until their bodies trembled and fainted. The general of the Sun Moon Fortress held 2 special wreaths and slowly walked forward. These were 2 extremely special wreaths. They were made entirely of white jade and were incomparably huge. They were densely packed with metals, all of which were military medals of the soldiers from second high. There was a dazzling array of at least 10,000 medals. The glory of tens of thousands of soldiers gathered here. There was also an inscription written by General Dongfang himself, "Eternal Glory." The leader, a burly man in white, knelt on the ground and cried out in tears, "Teacher, open your eyes and look. We didn't lose face for you. Teacher, we didn't lose face for you, we didn't lose face for second high." All the students of Second High who returned from the Sun Moon Fortress saluted at the same time, then knelt down and cried bitterly. Wave after wave of students continued to pour in. The entire mountain was almost covered with wreaths. The smell of incense and candles stretched for thousands of miles and did not dissipate for a long time. Someone suddenly choked with sobs and began to recite the words that he Yuanyue often said. I hope that my home will not be destroyed. I hope that my country will not be invaded. I hope that my brothers will always be happy. I hope that my sisters will always be safe. I hope that I can protect all of this. At first, only one person was reciting while sobbing, but more and more people joined in. Later on, millions of people were reciting at the same time, and their voices shook thousands of miles. Everyone seemed to have seen He Yuanyue suddenly appear in front of them with a heavy expression on her face. She looked at them and said softly, I hope that the children of Second High can walk out of this world with an indomitable spirit. I hope that the children of Second High, even if they can't become pillars, each of them can be an upright person. I hope. Listening to these familiar words, that respectable old man's greatest wish and deepest blessing was always on the tip of his tongue. Everyone's tears fell like rain. Piles of wreaths came forward. Countless students of Second High knelt in front of He Yuanyue's grave. Teacher. Wave after wave of people came and went. The light of incense and candles filled the entire Phoenix Turn. Even when it was late at night, there were still countless people lining up to offer incense and worship. From the beginning to the end, Qin Fengyang, who was dressed in black, stood at the side of the grave like a clay sculpture and did not say a word. He seemed to be completely empty. His eyes were empty and unfocused. His injuries did not get better at all. He had been using his willpower and cultivation to endure. At this moment he could no longer care about anything else. No one knew what he was thinking. Swishaoduo saw that he was not in a good condition, so he forced a few bottles of water and a few elixirs to him. When he was fed water he would drink it. When he was given pills he would eat them. However, all of his actions were carried out in a completely unconscious state. Hundreds of thousands of people came and went. Qin Fengyang had been standing like this for 3 days and 3 nights. Swishaoduo, Long Yuxing, and the others had been waiting with him. Swishaoyan rushed back to take care of Mu Yinyan. She gave Mu Yinyan the healing elixir that Swichonglu had bought for her. She was surprised to find that Mu Yinyan's serious injuries were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. It should be known that the serious injury that Mu Yinyan suffered this time was so serious that it damaged her life. Her origin was also damaged to a considerable extent. She had taken more than a dozen life origin elixirs for her current condition. It could not be said that there was no effect at all, but the effect was minimal. Mu Yinyan was seriously injured by her senior brother Zhang Zhilan's sneak attack, and her heart meridian was damaged. After that, he disregarded his injuries and attempted to activate his self-destruction technique, dragging Zhang Zhilan along with him. Although he was saved by Han Song's palm and luckily survived, he had already activated part of his technique. Adding to his injuries, it was difficult for him to recover from his injuries. Seeing that the life origin elixirs in her hand had been exhausted, but her injuries had not recovered, Swishaoyan suddenly remembered that when she said that she was about to break through, her father said that he had spent 1 million yuan to buy the life origin elixir for her. She had always regarded it as a treasure and had never thought of using it. At this moment, she thought of it and immediately took it out. Originally, Swishaoyan did not think that this elixir would have much effect. But she had never expected that this elixir not only worked, but also worked so well. Mu Yinyan's life was seriously injured and her origin was damaged. But it was not only fully replenished, but also a large amount of surplus vitality, which drove Mu Yinyan's cultivation to advance strongly. She rushed to the threshold of the cloud transformation realm in one breath, and all the remaining vitality was turned into the foundation. At that time Mu Yinyan only needed to launch a little power, and she could complete the breakthrough naturally. With such amazing efficacy, how could Swishaoyan not be shocked? How could it be so strong? An elixir of 1 million star coins, an elixir of 1 million star coins. The life origin elixir of 1 million star coins was just the normal market price. Where did Dad buy such good stuff? Swishaoyan said in her heart, should I buy more as a backup? It's better to let Gouda buy more and store more. When Mu Yinyan woke up, it was too late for her to break through. She took Zhou Xiaonian to He Yuanyue's tomb. She left just like that. Mu Yinyan stroked the tombstone and felt extremely sad. May we be friends again in the next life. Mu Yinyan bowed deeply. After Mu Yinyan paid her respects, she wanted to say a few words to Qin Fangyang. But Qin Fangyang completely ignored her, as if he had no sense of the outside world. Mu Yinyan lit 3 incense sticks, stretched out her hand, and drew a line with her fingers. 3 drops of blood fell in front of the tombstone, emitting a faint red light, and then turned into a cloud of blood mist and disappeared. 3 drops of blood, 3 lives of sisters. Mu Yanyan said sadly, I have to go back. This time there were 2 traitors in the sect, and they almost caused a great disaster. The sect must give an explanation. When I come back, I will come to see you again. Rest in peace. Mu Yanyan turned and left. Master. Zhou Xiaonian called her worriedly. Don't worry, I'm fine. Mu Yinyan stroked Zhou Xiaonian's hair and said, You have to prepare well for the next period of time. Wait for me to come back. This time I am also on the verge of breaking through. Go back to the mountain and break through. In this mortal world. Mu Yanyan showed a sad and helpless smile and shook her head gently. I don't dare to. Waving her hand, she floated away. Zhou Xiaonian stayed, accompanying Zhou Xiaoduo and He Yuanyue to guard the tombstone. Jiang Zhongbin, Sun Fengho, Sister Lan, Long Yuxing, Wan Li Xiu, Li Zhongming and others. More than 30 people were guarding the tombstone. 6 days later, Qin Fangyang finally moved. His body moved, but he only took 1 step forward, and his whole body fell to the ground. Seeing this, everyone exclaimed in unison. Zhou Xiaoduo rushed forward and helped him up, but they saw a trace of a smile on Qin Fangyang's withered face. However, after a long silence, this trace of a smile made everyone's heart jump. But Qin Fangyang didn't do anything that made everyone worried. He took the initiative to eat and drink some food, and after taking some pills, he didn't wait for anyone's help, and used his own power to catalyze and heal his injuries. I'm fine. The body of a cloud transformation realm cultivator is strong, extraordinary. After a long time, Qin Fangyang stood up, turned his head, and looked at He Yuanyue's tombstone. He said indifferently, She left so many things for me to complete. How can I collapse? I'm leaving. Qin Fangyang looked at He Yuanyue's tombstone and said softly, Stay here and wait for me obediently. When I'm done with these things, I'll come and accompany you. His tone was as if He Yuanyue was still alive, sitting in front of him, and their relationship had completely recovered. Qin Fangyang's expression and voice were full of affection, and doting. Everyone, don't worry about me. Qin Fangyang looked at the tombstone and smiled gently. Don't worry, I won't die, and I won't do anything stupid. Actually, I already knew it was you. Actually, you already knew that I knew it was you. Silly girl. You made me act with you for so long, is it still fun? On the tombstone, He Yuanyue looked at Qin Fangyang with a smile, and her eyes seemed to be filled with affection. So you watched me act, right? But did you see it? How you are now, how you were in the past, did your husband care? I don't care. Qin Fangyang stepped forward and slowly stroked the tombstone, saying softly, I don't care. You saw it, didn't you? Little girl. If there's a next life, you must let me recognize you. Qin Fangyang said gently, Promise me. A whirlwind came, and the joss sticks and paper money danced in the wind, circling around Qin Fangyang as if He Yuanyue was answering him. Qin Fangyang's tears flowed freely, and he choked out, You must let me know that you're still in this mortal world. Otherwise there's no meaning in me living. I'm going back now and have a good rest. Tomorrow is the 7th day of your death, and I'll come tomorrow night to accompany you. I'm leaving in the morning of the day after tomorrow. I'm going to kill those 2 enemies, and then I'm going to do everything you asked me to do. Everything that you wish for, your husband will definitely accomplish for you. Qin Fangyang's face was full of tears. Qianqian, leave everything to me, don't worry. Just like before, the person you trust the most is me, and the person you worry about the most is also me. My silly little girl. Sister Lan stepped forward quietly and said, Qin Fangyang, let's go together the day after tomorrow. Young mistress said before that if she goes, I'll take care of you for a while. Qin Fangyang's face was full of tears, but he smiled faintly. There's no need. Because I'm afraid that I'll fall in love with you or you'll fall in love with me. I can't bear either outcome. Sister Lan's face was red. Qin Fengyang, what do you mean? Qin Fengyang said calmly, I don't believe that you don't understand the meaning behind her words. I know she means well, but I understand her intentions even more. What I want to do is to go through mountains of knives and seas of fire, and every step is life and death. If you and I are together, can we be safe and never get hurt? If we get hurt, won't we take care of each other? A single man and a single woman taking care of each other. Haha. Based on my personality and your personality, no matter who gets hurt or is in danger, we'll do everything to save each other. After that, everything will be logical and natural. Maybe that's what she wants to see, but it's definitely not what I want to see. So there's no need. You have a life that belongs to you, and I have things that I must do. Qin Fengyang turned around and faced the tombstone. He said softly, don't make arrangements for me anymore, okay? On the tombstone, He Yuanyue was still smiling affectionately. Qin Fengyang turned and left. His clothes fluttered, and he was dozens of meters away in the blink of an eye. Zhou Xiaoduo, Li Chenglong, and the others called out at the same time, Teacher Qin. Qin Fengyang did not look back. He waved his hand with his back facing them. His body flashed a few times, and he disappeared without a trace. He did not say a word. On the 7th day of the 2nd day, the number of people who came to pay their respects suddenly increased. Everyone was busy for the whole day. At night, Qin Fengyang appeared on time. He was still dressed in black, and his movements were very neat. It was obvious that his injuries had improved greatly. He sat quietly in a secluded spot, closed his eyes and did not speak or move. He ignored everyone. Even when Zhou Xiaoduo went forward to say a few words, Qin Fengyang still ignored him. Zhou Xiaoduo could only wring his hands and sigh at this. Since he was at a loss, he directly threw out a drop of Providence Point to confirm Qin Fengyang's recent luck. Only then did he feel slightly relieved. Then he secretly stuffed a spatial ring into Qin Fengyang's pocket. Qin Fengyang noticed it, but he did not move or refuse. This kind of kindness could not be rejected. The night passed quickly. Qin Fengyang stood up and left with large strides. On this day, from the beginning to the end, he had not said a single word, not even uttered a single word. On the tombstone, He Yuanyue's eyes were still gently watching his back as he left. Qin Fengyang did not look back until his figure disappeared into the distance. He did not return to Second High. No one knew where he went. Perhaps it would be a long time before he returned to everyone's sight. Or perhaps they would never see each other again. Sister Lan appeared in front of the tomb and smiled bitterly. Young mistress, you've arranged too many things. Please wait for me for a while. I have to go back to my hometown and arrange a cenotaph for you. Then, I'll come back to accompany you immediately. We've been together for a lifetime. You'll be lonely if I'm not around, right? Sister Lan leaned on the tombstone and muttered, wait for me for a few days. I'll be back. She slowly retreated more than 10 meters and bowed deeply. Wait for me to come back. A sword light rushed up. Sister Lan's figure flashed in the sky and disappeared. She went in a completely different direction from Qin Fengyang. At this point, there were only 10 people left in front of the tomb. Zhou Xiaoduo, Zhou Xiaonian, Long Yuxing, Wan Li Xiao, Yu Moyan, Li Changming, Li Chenglong, Zhang Zhongbin, Sun Fengho, and Hu Ruoyan. Li Changjiang was still the principal of Second High. He could not stay here for long. There were too many things in Second High that required his attention. Second High had suddenly lost the old principal, He Yuanyue, Qin Fengyang, and Sister Lan. Without the three leaders, their overall strength had dropped to the lowest point in history. Even if no one dared to provoke Second High in the short term, who knew what would happen in the future? These were all problems that Li Changjiang urgently needed to solve. Yu Moyan had been holding the jade pendant that He Yuanyue had given him the entire time. Old principal, I won't forget a single word you said. I'll definitely carry it out to the end. Those who should go back, go back. Hu Ruoyan said hoarsely, don't be willful. You all have your own things to do. Zhang Zhongbin, the old principal is most worried about you. He's afraid that you'll be willful and throw a tantrum. He wants me to tell you. Do your job well. And your father, he's your biological father, not just me. Jiang Zhongbin answered blankly, but he still sat there without moving. 2 streams of tears streamed down his face again. The old principal was still concerned about him even before he died. Hu Ruoyun would never say such things about his biological father. Xiaoduo, go back and cultivate. There's still a long way to go. Come and visit the old principal often. Yes. Old son, you're not going to be the director of the martial arts bureau anymore? Why aren't you going back? Sigh. Jiang Zhongbin stared blankly at the tombstone and said, Monkey son, we have to take good care of this place. When the old principal was alive, she tried her best to stop us from sending gifts. But after she passed away, everyone's goodwill was buried together with her. We have to be careful of thieves coming to rob the tombstone. Sun Fengho's eyes shone sharply. Who dares to touch the old principal's tomb? I, Sun Fengho, will not live under the same sky as him. There's nothing lacking in this world, but there's no lack of thieves and greedy people. Jiang Zhongbin said calmly, no matter what, we have to take good care of this place. Let's take turns. Even if we can't come, we have to send someone we trust. Okay. Zhou Xiaoduo and the others walked for a long time. When they looked back, He Yuanyue's tombstone seemed to still be in front of them. That gentle and kind gaze seemed to still be looking at them. The 6 of them stopped at the same time and bowed deeply. Grandma He, don't worry. You've worked hard all your life. Have a good rest. We'll bring back everything you want to see. Volume 1. Dancing in Phoenix City. Seeking Tao in the Mortal World has ended. This chapter has 12,000 words. It's not suitable to split it, so I'll just publish it all at once. Then I'll start writing the summary. Chapter 305. Zhou Xiaoduo and Long Yuxing didn't go home until the wee hours of the morning. Zhou Xiaoduo went home and lay on the sofa. He felt like his whole body was falling apart. Zhou Xiaoyan had replaced all the broken doors and windows in the house in the past few days. The house was also cleaned up. It was much cleaner than before. Teacher Qin said she wanted to see me touch her 3 times. But I don't know where she went. Zhou Xiaoduo complained on the sofa. Zhou Xiaoyan was busy in the kitchen. When she heard Zhou Xiaoduo talking, she asked, "What did you say?" There was no response. Only the sound of snoring could be heard. Zhou Xiaoduo had fallen asleep. During this period of time, Zhou Xiaoduo was really tired. After 2.5 months of suspense, he actually fell asleep when he relaxed. At least for a short period of time, he didn't have to be on tenterhooks anymore. With his current innate level cultivation and his divine sense almost perfect, he could still be so tired. It was obvious that his physical and mental exhaustion had reached the extreme. It was no small matter. Zhou Xiaoyan walked out of the kitchen and walked to the sofa. She looked at his sleeping face silently. Her heart became calmer and calmer. The candlelight illuminated the soul and enlightened the heart. "Thank you, doggy." She gently bent down and kissed Zhou Xiaoduo's face. Then she jumped up like a thief and looked around. Her face was as red as a monkey's butt. No one. There was really no one. Zhou Xiaoyan slowly calmed down. She paused and lowered her head again. She pecked Zhou Xiaoduo on the lips with unparalleled speed. Then she bounced up immediately as if she had been electrocuted. The whole series of actions happened in a flash like a phantom. Coupled with the nonchalant expression on his face, he was calm and indifferent. Only his heart was beating wildly. It had already betrayed him. "Humph, I'll let you take advantage of me," Zhou Xiaoyan muttered to herself. Zhou Xiaoduo, who had already fallen asleep, smacked its lips and pursed its lips. Zhou Xiaoyan was startled, thinking that she was not asleep. Only after taking a closer look did he confirm that he was indeed asleep. Only then was she relieved. She went forward again, picked up Zhou Xiaoduo and was about to put him on the bed, but she almost sprained her waist. So heavy. Could it be that this kid actually changed his own weight to 30,000 jin? Zhou Xiaoyan was puzzled. He gently removed all the weights from Zhou Xiaoduo. Zhou Xiaoduo was sleeping like a dead pig. He didn't have any reaction to a certain someone's hands on him. "Sure enough, it's 30,000 caddies. When did you change it?" After a while, Zhou Xiaoyan carried him into the room and put him on the bed. She stared at his sleeping face for a long time. In the end, she giggled foolishly to herself before regaining her senses. She hurriedly pulled the blanket over him. Then she hurriedly slipped out of the room like a thief. Zhuo Xiaonian was in a good mood. She could not help but hum a song while washing the vegetables and rice. She was about to cook. She opened the refrigerator to see if there were any ingredients left. She frowned and thought for a while. Then she ran out to buy a few more vegetables and dozens of boxes of the best wine. She brought them home together. Dad is always reluctant to drink such good wine. Now that I've succeeded, I have no worries. I might as well buy more and store it. Zhuo Xiaonian felt a sense of accomplishment. Anyway, I'm using Xiao Duo's card. I suddenly feel very good. I'll cook a few more dishes to reward Doggy. Do you want to drink some wine tonight? She blushed again as she thought about it. She put her hands on her waist and said fiercely, Doggy, don't think too much. Then she realized that Doggy was still sleeping and everything was her imagination. She could not help but blush again. But after a while she felt at ease again. She hummed a song and began to cook. At this moment, Zhuo Xiaonian's heart was only filled with indescribable happiness and peace. She wished that time would stop at this moment forever. Xiao Duo slept until 6 o'clock in the evening. During this time he had more than a dozen dreams in succession. He did not know if it was because he was thinking about something during the day and dreaming at night, or because he could sense each other. Anyway, he dreamed about everything that he should and should not dream about. In his dream, Qin Fengyang appeared in a black suit and looked at him in the air in front of him. He was not as indifferent as he usually was. His face was heavy and his whole body was bleak. He said to him in a low voice, "Remember what I taught you. Don't embarrass me." Xiao Duo asked, "Teacher Qin, where are you going?" Qin Fengyang finally broke into a smile and said bitterly, "Where can I be at ease in the end of the world?" Then he disappeared in a cloud of mist. Xiao Duo ran after him. "Teacher Qin, don't go. I still have something to say to you. Long Yuxing and the others dared to scold you. I heard it. Come back and beat them up." Then a faint figure appeared in the cloud in front of him. "Teacher Qin." Xiao Duo ran after him in surprise. He Yuanyue looked at him kindly and said, "Xiao Duo, don't forget what I told you. Grandma He's lifelong wish is on you. Don't slack off. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you to achieve something. Lai Feng, tell Grandma He later." "Grandma He, I'll remember. Have you seen Teacher Qin? He left just now." He Yuanyue smiled and her face became blurry. "I'll go and find him." Before her voice died away, He Yuanyue also disappeared. Xiao Duo felt lost for a moment and murmured, "You all left? Why did you all leave?" In front of him the sea of clouds was surging and the world was vast. In a trance, Mu Yanyan, dressed in white, came over coldly. She glanced at him and turned away without stopping. "Xiao Duo, you kicked your crotch again. I don't want you anymore." Xiao Duo hurriedly explained, "But they want to kill me. I need to protect myself." Mu Yanyan had already disappeared. "How is it shameful to kick your crotch?" Xiao Duo murmured to himself. "As long as you can paralyze the enemy's combat capability, you can kick anywhere you want. How is it shameful? This point of view is really strange." Suddenly there was a person in front of him. He was using a bamboo cane to tap the ground as he slowly walked forward. The man's clothes were shabby, his figure was old, and his behavior was full of desolation. "Godfather." Xiao Duo looked at the man in surprise. "Why are you here?" Blind Hong stopped in his tracks and turned around. His white eyes rolled around as if he was looking at Xiao Duo, but it also seemed like he was looking at something else. Suddenly, he let out a long sigh and said, "This is all fate. As expected, it's not up to anyone." Xiao Duo was puzzled. "Godfather, what's wrong with you? Since you're here, come home with me. You're so lonely and can't see. I'm worried." Blind Hong's expression seemed to be very complicated. He suddenly said angrily, "Don't call me godfather. I'm not your godfather. Who wants to be your godfather?" Xiao Duo wondered. "I remember that you were very happy at that time. You even gave me your life ring. Why don't you recognize it now?" Then he suddenly became vigilant and said, "You're not here to take back the ring, are you? That's mine. I can't give it back to you. It has already recognized me as its master. If I change my master's ring frequently, I won't be happy." Blind Hong was speechless. He rolled his eyes for a while. Suddenly, he sighed heavily and disappeared. There's no head or tail. I'm so confused. What are they trying to do? Swishaoduo stood in the clouds in a daze. He scratched his head and couldn't figure out what was going on. The clouds in front of him moved again. Suddenly, a huge dragon head appeared in front of him. The dragon's eyes alone were almost as big as 10 of Swishaoduo's heads. However, it looked at Swishaoduo innocently and said, "Hi. Hi your ass." Swishaoduo was still in shock. "You scared me to death." The dragon head looked very innocent. "Did I scare you?" "Humph. Am I too big?" The dragon head asked, feeling wronged. "You're just too big." Swishaoduo realized that the dragon was actually quite cute. It didn't have any evil intentions towards him. Naturally, his fear disappeared. He asked tentatively, "What are you doing here?" "A little big." "That's easy." The dragon head pondered for a while. Then it shook its body. In an instant it transformed into a Xiaolong that was only 12 meters long. It looked quite cute. Then it said, "How about this?" At this time Swishaoduo could already confirm that the dragon in front of him was clearly a baby dragon, the kind that had just been born for a few days. It was full of innocence. He said with interest, "It's good now, much better than before." Xiaolong tilted its head and said innocently, "Can we be friends?" Swishaoduo said, "Sure, I have a lot of good things here." The dragon's eyes suddenly sparkled. Suddenly, a mountain of various treasures appeared in front of Swishaoduo. It was dazzling. Drooling, it said, "You have more treasures than me?" "Damn!" Swishaoduo's eyes widened. "Where did you find so many treasures?" "I don't have as many as you do." Xiaolong immediately looked disappointed. Then he encouraged good luck. Then he put away all the treasures in the mountain. Not a single one was left. Then, he looked at Swishaoduo expectantly. "Oh, when are you coming to play with me?" "Where are you?" Swishaoduo asked. "I'm in Fenghai." Xiaolong was puzzled. "Don't you know?" "How would I know? What are you talking about?" Xiaolong was in high spirits. "Why are you so poor? Do you have anything good for me?" Swishaoduo scratched his head and said, "I really don't have anything. I'm so poor. What can I give you?" Xiaolong was very disappointed and said, "There's nothing." Swishaoduo thought for a while and said, "How about I give you a drop of this?" As he said that, he took out a luck point and said leisurely, "Do you want this? This is good stuff." Xiaolong's eyes instantly became as bright as the sun. He nodded repeatedly, drooling. "Yes, yes, yes. It's really good stuff. Here you go. Good friends should share wealth with each other." Swishaoduo generously threw the luck point over. It was a dream anyway. Xiaolong caught it in one gulp. Then, a satisfied look appeared on his face. "You're so nice and generous. We're good friends. Do you have anything else? Give me more." Swishaoduo said expectantly, "Since you said that we're good friends, shouldn't you give me something too?" Xiaolong immediately became vigilant and cried, "I'm the one who's going to die of poverty. You still want something from me?" Whoa! As he cried, his body suddenly disappeared. He actually escaped. Fuck! Swishaoduo cursed. Fuck, he often heard people say that they were poor while sitting on a mountain of gold. This Xiaolong was even worse. He was sitting on a mountain of gold, but he still wanted to cry about being poor. This simply pushed the level of crying poverty to a whole new level. My luck points are really good stuff, but I didn't get anything back. What a loss. Then the world returned to its original state. While Swishaoduo was confused, he was surprised to see a snow-white phoenix coming to his left. The phoenix frowned and looked at Swishaoduo. "What are you doing here?" Swishaoduo said, playing. The phoenix's body shook and turned into an adorable kitten. It meowed twice and said, "Do you recognize me?" Swishaoduo laughed heartily and his eyes lit up. "Nyan Nyan cat." Without saying a word, he picked up the kitten and stroked it up and down. He was having a great time. The cat in his arms also ran around Swishaoduo's body and seemed to be enjoying it. However, in a trance, the kitten turned into Swishaonian again. She lay in his arms and said softly, "Xiaoduo, can I be your wife?" Swishaoduo was overjoyed. Okay, let's consummate our marriage now." Swishaonian was very shy. No. Swishaoduo's wolf nature was unleashed. He went forward and pressed her down. "Where are you going?" He even laughed like a pervert. Wahahaha. Slap. Swishaudwas but was slapped hard. A clear voice said, "What are you laughing at?" Swishaoduo turned over and opened his eyes. He was surprised to see Zwishaonian in front of the bed. His eyes lit up and he laughed. "Nian Nian cat, come, let's consummate our marriage." He went forward and hugged Zwishaonian and pressed her down on the bed. Zwishaonian was furious. She was not willing to give in. With a few punches and kicks, she beat Swishaoduo until he was in pain. With another kick, Swishaoduo flew into the air and hit the wall. Then he fell hard on the ground. It hurt. At this time Swishaoduo finally woke up. He screamed, This is not a dream." Zwishaonian's face was red. She got up from the bed and pressed Swishaoduo down. She struck a pose like Wusong hitting a tiger. "Little dog, you are really bold now." As she said that, she was about to punch him again. Swishaoduo was terrified. He begged for mercy. "Sister Nian Nian. I was really dreaming just now, really? I'm not lying to you. I even dreamed of a dragon, a phoenix, and a phoenix turned into a kitten. I made you dream of all those weird things." Zwishaonian pulled Swishaoduo up and dragged him to the faucet. He turned on the faucet and washed him with cold water. "Are you awake? Are you awake?" I'm awake, I'm awake." Swishaoduo wanted to cry. "Dreams are better. Hurry up." Zwishaonian left Swishaoduo and walked out. Her face was still red. She said angrily, "There are guests at home." "Guests? There are guests at home?" Swishaoduo was stunned when he heard this. "I just had a dream and there are guests at home? This is really. Is this reality or a dream?" He checked subconsciously and couldn't help but be stunned. My luck point is really one less. Chapter 306. Swishaoduo was dumbfounded. "I gave Xiaolong 1 point in my dream. But that was just a dream, okay? Why did I lose 1 point? It was real. It was just that 1 point was missing." Swishaoduo had always been very clear about what he had. Not to mention the fact that he had only accumulated 26 luck points up until now. Even if it was the balance in his bank account, he still remembered the number after the decimal point clearly. Losing 1 providence point was like the sky was collapsing. Swishaoduo almost fainted from the heartache. He was still a little confused. Even in my dream, I can't give things to people casually? Is the society now so complicated? That Xiaolong took my luck points but didn't give me anything. I've lost so much. The more Swishaoduo thought about it, the more he lost. He beat his chest and stamped his feet. Zwishaonian's urging voice came from outside. Swishaoduo suppressed his sadness and hurriedly wiped his face. When he walked out, he was stunned. There were indeed guests in the living room. 3 women. One of them was the superstar Gu Luoyan. The other 2 women were cold and full of energy. They were Gu Luoyan's 2 divine shadow bodyguards. These 2 bodyguards had played a key role in the battle to protect the Phoenix Vein. If Fong Inua's sudden appearance at the end had the effect of turning the tide, then these 2 bodyguards were the key to dragging the situation all the way to the final moment. At this moment, the 3 of them were looking at Swishaoduo with half-smiles. "Ayaya. Superstar. We are honored by your presence. Sorry for the lack of manners. Sorry for the lack of welcome." Swishaoduo looked enthusiastic and hurried forward. "Do you want tea or plain water? I have some water here. You didn't hear anything just now, right?" Gu Luoyan smiled faintly. "What cat consummation? We didn't hear anything." Yes. If you put it that way, I'll believe you." Swishaoduo's expression didn't change. As he brewed the tea, he said, "I'm an extremely emotional creative genius. You should also understand that if a person has any burdens in his heart, especially if there's something that makes him unhappy, then he can't even write a single song. My emotions are so weak that no one else can. Can you understand?" Gu Luoyan smiled and said, "Second sister, your brother is threatening us." "Sister. Beat him up." Zwishaonian's voice rang out in the kitchen. "Second sister? Big sister?" Swishaoduo was surprised. "You, Nian Nian and I find each other pleasing to the eye. We've already become sworn sisters." Gu Luoyan smiled and said, "Xiaoduo, you have to be more respectful to big sister in the future. Zhuoxiao Duo was completely dumbfounded. I'm still dreaming, right? It should still be, right? It must be. How did this happen all of a sudden? He quickly used the excuse of making tea as an excuse to run to the kitchen. What's going on? Zhuoxiaonian, you've really got guts. Mom and Dad aren't home and you brought him home. You even became sworn sisters with him. Do you know what kind of person he is? Zhuoxiao Duo was very dissatisfied. How am I supposed to take advantage of you like this? No matter what Sister Yan's original intention was, she did help us a lot in the end. How can I not agree when she wants to be sworn sisters? Zhuoxiaonian frowned. Hurry up and go entertain the guests. I'm cooking. You're cooking. Zhuoxiao Duo rolled his eyes. Are you sure you're not trying to poison your sister to death? Zhuoxiao Duo. Zhuoxiaonian flipped out. Zhuoxiao Duo ran out of the kitchen with his head in his hands. Gu Luoyan didn't feel offended at all. She smiled and sent an audio file to Zhuoxiao Duo's phone. Xiao Duo, listen to this. This is the new version of Bloodstained Elegance that I've revised several times. Zhuoxiao Duo opened the audio file and joked. Sister Yan, you have to be careful. Don't send me any audio files that are not suitable for children. I'm still young. Gu Luoyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She raised her hand and was about to hit him. I'll beat you to death. Listen to the music. Listen to the music. Zhuoxiao Duo raised his hand. The prelude has already started. Look at you. You're a big star and a music expert. You can't keep your cool at all. Gu Luoyan almost vomited to death. She kept rolling her eyes. On the other hand, the two divine shadows had a smile on their cold faces. It was rare to see Gu Luoyan lose her composure like this. This Zhuoxiao Duo seemed to be born with a sense of intimacy, making people unable to dislike him at all. Yes, although she would always be angered by him to the point of wanting to beat him up, it was difficult for her to take action. In the end, it was very difficult for her to truly hate him. It felt like they were their own naughty children. Naughty children were different from naughty children. They could be beaten and scolded, but they would never hate them. The audio was turned on. The prelude was beautiful but heroic. Gu Luoyan's voice sounded with a touch of sadness. Maybe I'll say goodbye. Zhuoxiao Duo closed his eyes and listened until the end. He didn't make any comments, but he frowned. How is it? Gu Luoyan felt uneasy at this moment. She was an expert in music theory, and she felt that she had already displayed her own attainments in the song Bloodstained style to the fullest. To her it was already perfect. But at this moment, facing Zhuoxiao Duo's evaluation, he actually felt very guilty. He asked himself, did I do my best? Did I do my best? The purpose of this song is to move people's hearts. It's not to use the music to move people's hearts. The rhythm of your song is too sad. Too much is as bad as not enough. I suggest you add more drum beats to match it. Other than that, there are no big problems. The climax of this song. If you can add more harmonies and make it heavier, it should be much better. Gu Luoyan's eyes lit up. She immediately wrote down Zhuoxiao Duo's suggestions. With her knowledge in music theory, she had already played the song in her mind when Zhuoxiao Duo talked about it. Although she was in a trance for a moment, she knew how good it was. She couldn't help but admire it. And your voice. Zhuoxiao Duo thought for a while and finally decided to be blunt. It's too sad. This song is indeed sad. But sadness only accounts for 1/3 of the weight. Zhuoxiao Duo said in a deep voice, the sacrifice without regrets, the courage to face life and death, the feeling of indifference to life and death, and the pride of a hero. That's the most important thing. You put too much emphasis on the sadness. You're putting the cart before the horse. Gu Luoyan thought for a while and said, can you make it clearer? Just that. Zhuoxiao Duo thought for a moment and said, my original intention in composing this song wasn't to make people cry. Do you understand? I want people to be excited after listening to it. They want to rush to the sun and moon pass. To fight. Can you understand this kind of atmosphere? Zhuoxiao Duo said. There's heroism in the heaviness. There's sublimation in the sadness. There's no regret, even if you have to sacrifice yourself. You're in deep thought and full of passion. That's about the feeling. Gu Luoyan frowned and started to search for this feeling. Zhuoxiao Duo said indifferently, if you still can't grasp it, you might as well think about it from another angle. Temporarily throw this song to the back of your mind and think about those warriors who are fighting in front of you. Actually, each of them when they leave their hometown to go to the Sun-Moon Pass. Maybe some of them want to make a name for themselves, bring glory to their ancestors, and bring glory to the future generations. But most of them have a kind of, the wind is blowing, the water is cold, and the brave warriors will never return. This kind of attitude. That is to say, since they leave home to go to the Sun and Moon Pass to go to the front line, they are prepared to sacrifice themselves. So life and death for them is too normal. It's not even worth mentioning. What they care about is the value of their deaths, their sacrifices, and what kind of value they can show. Zuo frowned and said, Starlone, forgive me for being blunt. Although you've sung a lot of songs, your eyes and mind are mostly on those warriors, the widows and families of those heroes. Only the heroes themselves. Forgive me for being blunt. Maybe you don't understand. Zuo said sharply, if so, you can't sing this song well. The song is the heart. I don't need to tell you this. Gu Luoyan was sweating. She was speechless for a while. Gu Luoyan pondered for a long time. Then she stood up and bowed respectfully. Thank you, Brother Xiaoduo. I've learned a lot. I'll go back and edit it. Then I'll come back to you. Xiaoduo asked curiously, I thought you could only stay here for 5 days? Why haven't you left yet? I'm not going to take the blame for this. Gu Luoyan smiled bitterly. You really have to take the blame for this. It's the plan you proposed. Governor Zhan of South Ji City thought it was a great idea. Now everyone in South Ji City is holding this election. The atmosphere is very warm. So Governor Zhan and I discussed and asked me to postpone it for a few more days. Because the atmosphere hasn't reached the boiling point yet. Gu Luoyan smiled bitterly. Forget it. I've completely become a tool for once. Xiaoduo thought for a while and said, if that's the case then, will there be a problem with South Ji City's selection? We need to be careful of those families of the officials who use the name of the widows of the heroes to occupy the first-class seats. It's the age of the internet. A photo or a video can be known by the whole world. Gu Luoyan said, they won't dare to do this. Besides asking people to strictly enforce the rules, I've also sent the public order squad to ensure that everything goes smoothly. This time, I'm really showing my sincerity to the families of the heroes. Xiaoduo narrowed his eyes and said, but if that's the case, isn't the 1,000 tickets you promised too little? Indeed, it's too little. Gu Luoyan frowned. No matter what, there are some who can't go. Over the years, the number of martial heroes who have been sacrificed or disabled is more than tens of millions. Xiaoduo suggested. Then how about another 1,000? 2,000? Or 3,000? Gu Luoyan. The previous 1,000 tickets were personally given by you, Big Star. Didn't South Ji City do anything about it? Xiaoduo egged him on. Logically speaking, South Ji City should give more. Otherwise, the so-called promotion will just be a gimmick. It'll be hard to avoid criticism in the future. You're right. It's more in line with the benefits of the martial heroes, and it'll be easier for South Ji City to accept. Gu Luoyan pondered. But how can I make it happen? Will it be effective if I say it directly? Xiaoduo said confidently, of course it won't be effective if you say it directly, but if you use public opinion. Cough 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 cough. The two divine shadows who were drinking tea choked when they heard this. This kid was really scheming. This was to let South Ji City gain the benefits of reputation. Even if it wasn't to the point where they couldn't get any benefits, it would still reduce their vested interests. Gu Luoyan didn't care about money, so it didn't matter. But if South Ji City did this, they would have to cough up a considerable portion of the profits. At this time, a delicious aroma filled the air. Xiaoyan made a table full of dishes and brought them out one after another. When all the dishes were served, she even opened a bottle of wine. It was the top-grade wine that she had specially bought. But the 5 people present weren't good drinkers, especially Xiaoduo, who had drunk too much last time. He still had lingering fears when he saw wine, so he didn't dare to drink it. When he opened the bottle of wine, no one came to support him, so he awkwardly closed it again. After the meal, Gu Luoyan and the others didn't stay any longer. They immediately bid farewell and left. Obviously, they were in a hurry to go back and edit the music score. Although Xiaoduo had only given a few pointers, he had directly pointed out the key points. It was as if he had been enlightened, and it was time for his thoughts to surge. Duo and Xiaonian worked together and quickly cleared the table. Then they washed the dishes. This kind of atmosphere gave birth to an extremely novel feeling. It was like a young couple who had just formed a family and was experiencing the atmosphere of living together for the first time. Duo dog. Xiaonian's eyes moved. Nian nian cat. Duo replied softly. Duo dog. Nian nian cat. Dog. Cat. I'll beat you to death. What did you call me? Puff puff puff. Ah. Inexplicably, the atmosphere suddenly changed. The two of them immediately wrestled with each other. The originally warm and harmonious atmosphere was gone. After a long time, Duo sat on the sofa and imitated Chonglu's behavior as the head of the family. He held the newspaper and read it. Beside his hand, there was a cup of green tea. It was quite vivid. If he hadn't poured that cup of green tea himself, it would have been even more similar. Only his red ears clearly showed that the head of the family had just been abused. Xiaonian finished cleaning the room and sat opposite Duo. She also made a cup of tea for herself and stretched her straight and round long legs lazily and elegantly. She was 1.73 meters tall, but she had long legs that were more than 1 meters. Duo secretly looked at her and wanted to touch her legs. He warned her, "Your proportions are wrong. It should be according to my touch here, then this, then that." He thought about it for a long time, but in the end he didn't dare to do it. Begging for votes. 2 chapters today. This chapter also costs 4,000 yuan. Something came up and I accompanied my wife back to her parents' house. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.